A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Is anybody?
There she is. That's Molly Goldberg, folks. A woman with a place in every heart and a finger in every pie. And now the makers of New Does. That new kind of soap for everything right down your wash line. Bring you another visit with those good folks, the Goldbergs. You know, you need a new kind of soap for your wartime wash. And what do I mean by wartime wash? Well, listen, Mrs. Jones knows.
Greasy overalls, grimy work shirts. Oh, I never had so many to wash before. You see, my men folks are working longer hours on the farm now, raising food for our soldiers.
And Mrs. Henry knows.
Streaky towels.
Say, they get much dirtier now. You know, my husband comes home from the factory just covered with grease.
And Mrs. Williams knows.
Pretty rayons and nicer colored washables. I tell you, I have to give them extra care these days. You know, wartime colors and dyes are changing.
Yes, colors are changing. Clothes are changing. That's why you should change to New Does, Procter & Gamble's new soap discovery. You see, Does is made to do everything in your wartime wash. All three kinds of wash, from work shirts, towels, to pretty rayon slips. Listen, here's how Does does it. Work shirts?
No matter how many there are, Does makes it easy to get them clean. I never had a soap get dirt out easier than Does. Why, I don't do any hard scrubbing anymore and no boiling.
Towels?
Sure, my towels get dirtier these busy days. Just streaked with machine grease and grime. But Does gets them really white. And my linens and sheets, they come out just dazzling. Honestly, I've never had whiter washes than Does gives me.
Rayons?
It's wonderful, the extra safety Does gives me for my rayon slips and nicer colored washables. And now is the time they need extra care, because wartime dyes are different. And using Does means those precious colors will stay bright far longer.
Yes, that's because Does gives you far better color care than any of the four other leading granulated soaps. So change to this new kind of granulated soap today. In your wartime wash, D-U-Z does everything. And now the Goldbergs. A family car is returning from the express station about 20 miles from Glastonbury. And the Goldbergs are talking about Mikey's sudden recall to the Army and sundry other matters. Rosie is still very sensitive about her complicated love affairs and her two gentleman friends, while Jake dreams only of the family hearth and a period of peace and quiet, untroubled by anything but work and the war. He draws the line at domestic earthquakes. But there was a faint rumble, a tremor of earth yesterday when Uncle David called up and found the Goldbergs out. But we'll see. Meanwhile, Jake drives and mumbles.
Well, we're nearly home.
What did you say, Papa darling?
Talk louder, Pa. Rosie thinks you're talking about her.
Papa said he's glad that we're nearly home.
What else should I say?
I just asked you what you said.
And I said I'm glad I'm nearly home.
Papa said he's glad we're nearly home.
And I like to add, I'm glad I'm going home to peace and quiet.
All right, Jake.
What did I say?
All right, Jake, please.
Have I the right to say that I want my home peaceful and quiet?
Watch the road, Jake, please.
I'm watching. After all...
Jake, please.
What's the please?
You don't have to whisper.
Rosalie, please.
Did you hear me whisper?
Well, what has Papa got to whisper?
Oh, Pa, watch the road and let's get home,
It was
please.
my fault that things weren't peaceful and quiet at home. I'm sorry.
Rosalie.
Was it my fault that things are...
Please.
If I hear another Jake, I'll stop the car.
Pa, Rosie, please.
Rosalie, please. Rosalie, please. If anything of which or what is going to be uttered, and you think that we're talking of your past,
Then after all, Rosalie, after all, what was? Walter is away. If he writes to you and you want to be his correspondent, so that's your concern.
If you want your father's advice, which maybe isn't your concern, Mikey Bloom's letters, you should answer.
If she answers, so she'll answer whichever what, Jake.
Just
please.
because
what's the road?
I'm watching you. I shouldn't be on the road now anyway. By what right have I got to be driving my car?
Because you had to take Mikey to the station.
If Mikey wasn't a soldier, even that I wouldn't do. And if Mikey wasn't close to my heart, I would think twice also. And if I didn't think Mikey was close to your heart, Rosalie,
Please.
what did I say?
Nothing, don't stop.
Turn here.
I know.
Let's be silent.
You
And I
say you
said,
know,
let's be
Papa.
silent already
Why
on
you really
everything. We must talk. If we're going home, let's go home quietly.
And if we know Jake, and we do, this isn't the end of the discussions of Rosie's boyfriends. But this is the kind of conversation Jake enjoys in the peace and quiet of his home. Unfortunately, as the Goldbergs are going to find out, there are visitors at the Goldberg house. And one of them we recognize. He's our old friend Uncle David, Molly's beloved Uncle David. But the other visitor is a stranger.
Emma, where are you?
I'm here.
The bell's here.
Here.
No, right by the window.
I'm watching for them to come home.
Oh, you're afraid they wouldn't like you.
Well, you didn't ask them if they would want me.
Some people you don't have to ask. Molly Goldberg, you don't have to ask. If somebody needs something, if somebody has to have something, if somebody wants something, that's the key that opens her door. Didn't I told you that?
Will she like me?
Don't I like you?
Yes.
Well,
Well, but her husband, will he like me?
you'll see.
Who else is in her family?
Rosalind.
Well, maybe she won't like me.
You'll see how she'll like you.
And who else is there?
Sammy.
Sammy, is there the little boy? Oh, there they are. There they are.
So, they're here, so
Let me go inside and hide. You tell them you brought me here and why. And if I hear them say, all right, I stay. And if they don't want me, so I'll go. Well, I won't be mad, but I'll not. Please, please, in here I'll go and I'll close the door. And I'll hear if they want me. I'll stand right here and listen.
But,
Paul, put the car in the car. Almost later. And if you put it in now... Why wait for later? Uncle David!
How are you, David?
All right.
You don't pick up a telephone and say hello, I'm coming.
Maybe if I said I was coming, you would say stay home.
Oh, Uncle David, you didn't pick up the phone. Don't just say I'm coming, I'm here. Take my coat over the darling. Sammy, put on some light. The house is so twilightish. David, darling, so when did you come, David? How long are you here? How is everybody? Tell me, what train did you come on? Are you hungry, darling? I'm sure. Did you took something, darling? How is Sally and how is the baby,
Molly,
David?
please, a period, a comma, a punctuation mark. Take up the
How is Sally, Uncle David?
My Sally? My Sally, he's in the medical corps.
Medical corps, you don't say.
Sure. His family's with him.
Family's with he gave up the apartment?
Sure, his apartment and his practice.
You don't say his apartment. Rosalie, darling, did you put up tea?
No, don't go, Rosalind. No, there's time for tea.
Oh, David, darling, tell me, where in the medical corps did they rent?
California, in the Western Hemisphere.
The Western Hemisphere?
Sure.
You don't say.
Oh, he had to storage his furniture.
Everything storage.
Everything.
You
don't say, David.
No, listen, to put a few chairs and curtains and...
Polly had 4 beautiful rooms with furniture, David.
It's still only furniture. That was the least. But when you have, then can you take a person and put them in storage? You can't,
David, you know you can always stay with us.
Oh, sure, a question whether you to stay at hospital, David.
Thank you ever so. Not everybody has friends like I have and you are. Some people in this world are alone.
You never have to be alone, David.
You're not. That I know. But some people, Jake. Some people without their fault, without their blame. But
what, David?
She would work.
Who?
Whatever you would want to pay her.
Who, David?
Does it make a difference who, Jake? A person, a human being.
David.
Jake, let David speak.
There is nothing more to speak.
Jake.
David, what my life has been in the last few months.
Jake,
Don't start, Molly.
Jake, come on.
David, spare me. Spare me the embarrassment to refuse you whatever you are thinking.
But let David say what it
Don't
is.
harm me and don't jake me. Whatever it is, and whoever it is, my answer is no. Absolutely no, and positively not.
Jake.
And Molly, we may as well understand each other now as later. If you insist that if you try, David, my answer is no.
All right.
Where are you going, David?
Emma, come here, Emma. Come.
I'll go if you don't want me. I'll go. I told Uncle David.
There is a train that leaves at 9:45, David.
Jake. Jake. Jake.
And Jake isn't to be blamed, at least not by us, because we lived through these months of turmoil along with him. But at the same time, it would be interesting to know who Emma is, and why David brought her, and what it's all about. And if we know Molly, she'll find out before 9:45. Be sure to listen to the next episode of The Goldbergs, written for you by Gertrude Berg. This is Clayton Collier wishing you good day for Procter & Gamble, makers of Duz, the new kind of granulated soap for all 3 kinds of wash.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes. Best of all, king-size cigarettes brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. An unidentified woman is found murdered in a hotel room. Cause of death, strangulation. There's no lead to the identity of the killer. Your job, find him. The latest Fatima sales report shows thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers are switching to Fatima.
For the month of October, coast-to-coast actual figures show Fatima sales are up 110%, or more than double.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Remember, thousands of Americans are switching to extra-mild Fatima. Next time, insist on the best, king-size Fatima, in the distinctive golden yellow package.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, October 27th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 1:35 p.m. when we got to the old Central Jail building, 3rd floor, the crime lab.
How you doing, Lee? Hi, Ben. Joe?
How's it going? Did you check the stuff yet?
Yeah, most of it. Come on back here.
Okay.
Well, this is all of it.
Did you find anything we can get a lead out of?
Nothing too good, no. I don't think you could identify it from what we've got here. The morgue post the body yet?
Yeah, just this morning. How about fingerprints, Lee? They find any in that hotel room?
No farm prints, no. Dead end there.
What about the woman's purse? Did it show anything?
No chance. You can see the fabric here. Won't take a print.
Yeah.
Contents of the purse here, usual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Comb, lipstick, keychain, 1 key on it, half pack of chewing gum, coin purse, a dime, 2 nickels in it. That's all of it.
Yeah. According to the room clerk at the hotel, she had a wallet with her when she checked in. There's no sign of that, was there?
Nope. No sign of it in the hotel room either. Checked everything.
Is that the only piece of jewelry found on the body, that wedding ring there?
Yeah, it's a cheap ring. No markings on it. No way of tracing it. About the only thing I can tell you, she was pretty well dressed. That's an expensive bag there.
Yeah.
Sure not a cheap dress either. Same for a coat and shoes. They cost some money, too.
How about labels on any of that stuff?
One on the coat.
Yeah?
You can see right here. Benwood Department Store, Los Angeles. Coat's fairly new. They might be able to give you something on it.
Oh, maybe.
The people at the hotel, get anything there?
Well, it could have been better, Lee. The woman checked in last night around 8 o'clock. She registered as John Ross and wife, L.A.
Anyone see the man with it?
No, nobody. Room clerk says the woman came in alone. She said her husband was out parking the car, so she registered for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Clerk said he left the desk a few minutes after that. Figures the man must have come in sometime while he was gone. Nobody on duty at the desk after midnight. He could have left the hotel any time after that without being seen.
She registered at 8 p.m. The coroner says she died about 10:30.
You're not even sure there was a man with her, are you?
Yeah, the woman who was registered next door to the murder room, she told us she heard a man and a woman arguing. It was about 10 o'clock. Said it got pretty loud.
No idea who the woman really was, huh? I suppose that John Ross and wife business doesn't mean anything.
That's pretty doubtful. About all we got to go on is the physical description from the coroner. She was a small woman, 5'1", 99.25 pounds, wasn't that it, Ben?
Yeah.
Brown hair, blue eyes, about 31, 32 years old. We got her prints off to Washington.
Got any ideas?
We figured maybe it could be a psycho killer.
How'd you figure?
The coroner's report listed strangulation as the cause of death.
Yeah?
Whoever did it made sure her neck was broken. At approximately 6 o'clock that morning in a second-floor room of a downtown hotel, the body of an unidentified woman was found murdered. Preliminary investigation failed to reveal the true identity of the victim or the killer. As far as physical evidence was concerned, there wasn't much to go on. The deep bruises on her neck and throat, along with the crushed vertebrae at the base of her skull, indicated a savage attack. 1:55 p.m. Through the label on the dead woman's coat, we traced the garment to a department store where it had been purchased, but they had no record on it. It was a cash purchase, and the salesgirl couldn't remember the customer. Investigation during the next 2 days failed to turn up any leads. We showed a morgue picture of the victim to bartenders, waitresses, parking lot attendants in the vicinity of the hotel. They couldn't identify her. We rechecked tenants and employees at the hotel. That got us nothing. Thursday, 5:48 p.m.
One answer I'd sure like to find.
Yeah?
The victim was a nice-looking woman, well-dressed, nice clothes. How come she's staying in a cheap hotel down the neighborhood like that? It doesn't jibe for my money.
Well, that's hard to say.
Sure got me stopped. 2 days leg work and we're no play.
Well, we might be in better shape when we get that kickback from Washington.
I sure hope so.
Go ahead.
Hey, excuse me?
Well, yes, sir. Can we help you?
Well, no, I don't know. Guess that all depends. I'm waiting for a couple of detectives here.
Well, who is it you wanted to see?
A couple of detectives.
Well, who are they?
Well, it's pretty confidential, you know. I have to talk to them. They told me to see Friday and Romero. Ben Friday and Joe Romero, detectives handling the case.
Yes, sir. I'm Joe Friday. This is my partner, Ben Romero. We're handling the case. What do you want to see us about?
You said you were working on that murder case? That woman they found in the hotel?
Yes, sir. That's right.
That's so? I see your badges?
Yes, sir. Here's our identification.
Mm-hmm. Read about that murder in the paper, you know. You better come over here.
Yeah.
You're going to thank me for this. I I got all you want to know about that murder.
You mind telling us your name, sir?
I don't mind. Al P. Morgan. I was a good friend of hers, you know. Used to work with her.
You mean the dead woman?
It's the same one. I never forget her face, Maud McLeod. Saw that picture in the paper, and I said to myself, there's old Maud.
You're pretty sure of that, are you, Mr. Morgan?
Sure, I'm sure. Maud McLeod. Used to work together in the circus. Maud was a bareback girl, you know, best in the country, real trooper.
What makes you so sure it's the same woman, Mr. Morgan? When was the last time you saw this friend of yours, this Maud McLeod?
Well, I used to see her all the time. Worked the old Sells photo together. Got a photo of her.
You mind if we take a look at it, sir?
That's why I came down here. I want to help out. She's got to be identified. Well, let's see. Got it here somewhere. It's old Maud in a circus costume. Yeah, here it is. Take a look at that. That's Maud, ain't it?
Well, I don't know, sir. Doesn't seem to be too much resemblance here.
Is that right?
Afraid you've made a mistake, Mr. Morgan. Thanks for your cooperation anyhow. Appreciate you coming in.
Well, sure, it was Maud.
I get it. Homicide Friday. Oh, yeah, Frank. Uh-huh. Is that right? What did it say? Huh? Yeah. Okay, fine. No, we'll pick it up. Yeah, thanks.
Anything?
Communications. They got the kickback from Washington on the dead woman's fingerprints.
Any luck?
They got her identified. She worked at an aircraft plant during the war. Name's Doris Frazier.
I can't help but think you fellas are missing a bet. I knew that dead woman.
Well, she's already been identified, Mr. Morgan. We know who she is. Her name's Doris Frazier.
That's so.
Yes, sir, that's right.
Well, what do you think of that? Old Maud. She went and changed her name.
Thursday, 6:35 p.m. Ben and I went down the hall to communications and got a copy of the kickback from Washington. The murder victim was identified as Doris Eileen Frazier. She applied for a position as a typist at the Eagle Aircraft Plant in Burbank in 1942. Next morning, we checked the personnel office at the plant, and we found that Doris Frazier had been employed as a typist from 1942 to 1944. In going over her application, we found her last known address listed as 7346 Oakdale Avenue. Her application stated she was single, with no previous employment, with no known relatives. We could uncover no further information on the girl. We drove across town to the Oakdale Avenue address, a large apartment building in a better-than-average neighborhood. The manager told us that Doris Frazier had lived there up to 8 months before. He said that a few weeks before she moved, she was married to a tall, dark-haired man, but he was unable to remember his name. The manager also told us that the newly married couple apparently began having trouble from the day that they were married. We checked the next forwarding address, a boarding house for women in the south end of the city. Ben and I interviewed the woman in charge, a Mrs. Frances Watson. We talked to her back in the kitchen of the boarding house while she polished a set of silverware.
I saw that picture in the paper. I didn't connect it with Doris, though. She was a much prettier girl when she lived here.
You say she left here about 18 months ago, Miss Watson?
Yes, maybe a little more. Might be closer to 2 years. I'd have to check my rent receipts to be sure.
Did you happen to know anything about the Frazier girl, Miss Watson? I mean, did you know much about her personal life at all?
Well, of course, I always insist on references. Any good boarding house does, you know. Doris was a nice girl in many ways. Of course, she had her shortcomings. I suppose we all do. When she first came here, she seemed like such a nice girl, and then she started to go downhill. I just don't know what got into her.
Well, how do you mean, ma'am? Was she in some kind of trouble?
Well, of course, when she first came here, we didn't know it, but she was married. This is a home for single girls, and we have our rules and regulations just like any other respectable place.
Yes, ma'am, we understand.
Well, as we came to find out later, Doris wasn't only married, but she was fighting with her husband. I understand he wasn't much at all. She was thinking of getting a divorce, as a matter of fact.
Well, did you ever meet her husband, Miss Watson?
No, I never did. I suppose it's just as well I didn't. I understand that Doris left him after they'd been married only a few months.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what his name is, ma'am?
No, I have no idea. Or Doris always used a maiden name when she was with me.
Then you never saw this man, Miss Watson? He never came to the house here?
No, I didn't say I never saw him. I said I didn't meet him. Yes, there was once when he came to the house to see Doris.
And what was the occasion? You mind telling us about it?
Oh, it was most unpleasant, I can tell you that. Let me see now. Yes, Doris had been here about 6 months. Even by that time, I was beginning to see the real side of the girl. No character, Sergeant, no character at all. It shows up every time.
Yes, ma'am. I wonder if you'd go on, please.
Well, as I was saying, it was after about 6 months when this man brought Doris home late one night, about 1:45 midnight, I'd say. Upset the whole house.
How was that, ma'am?
The two of them, this man and Doris, they stood right out there in the hall, had a terrible quarrel. The language, it was dreadful. The top of their lungs, too. My husband went out to quiet them down, but the man left before he had a chance to calm him down. He upset the whole house.
Uh-huh. Now, this man that the Fraser woman was arguing with, you're sure that was her husband?
Well, as sure as I can be. That's what Doris told me, anyway, the day after. I called her in and told her I just couldn't tolerate behavior like that. It upset her quite a bit, I remember. She cried, said it wouldn't happen again. That's when she told me she was trying to get a divorce.
Is that what the big argument was about? Would you know that?
Yes, she said she wanted a divorce. Her husband didn't. He wanted her back with him. Certainly is sad the way some people mix up their lives.
Yes, ma'am. By any chance did you get a good look at this man, husband, I mean?
Well, he was tall and had dark hair. That's about all I remember. He was well-dressed, too.
I see. When Doris Fraser left here, Mrs. Watson, did she leave a forwarding address with you?
No, she didn't. I haven't any idea where she moved.
What kind of work was she doing while she was living here? Do you have any idea where she was employed?
Yes, that was one of the references she gave me. Furniture company. Down on Venice Boulevard, if I remember correctly. I have the address in my record book. Certainly is unfortunate, the whole thing.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
He even tried to talk to her before she left. Sat her down and talked to her for a whole afternoon. I guess it was just a waste of time.
How's that, ma'am?
Trouble with her husband. Terrible thing. He seemed to treat her so badly, two of them fighting all the time. I believe she was actually afraid of him. She told me he was very jealous. He drank, ran around. That's why I couldn't understand it.
You couldn't understand what, ma'am?
Doris, when she moved away from here.
Yes, ma'am?
She said she was going back with her husband.
The landlady, Frances Watson, gave us the address of the furniture store where the murder victim had been employed, and we drove down to check with the personnel manager, a Mr. Collins. He said that Doris Fraser had been fired from her job 10 months before. He said she'd been let go because she was constantly late for work and that she got into the habit of asking for salary advances too often. Collins also told us that he'd heard about the trouble between the Fraser woman and her husband. He said he'd seen the husband in the store several times when he came to call for his wife. He identified the husband as Stephen Arnold. The description was approximately the same, a tall, well-dressed man, dark hair, heavy build. The personnel manager gave us the last known address they had on the victim. The following morning, we checked it out, an apartment hotel in the East Wilshire area. She was still registered there, together with her husband, Stephen Arnold, but the desk clerk told us that Arnold hadn't been living there for the past 3 months. He had no idea where Arnold had moved. He didn't know where he worked. While the desk clerk stood by, Ben and I went upstairs and checked the apartment.
Anything, Joe?
No, nothing.
Nothing in the bedroom. Like Lee says, she goes in for nice clothes, about all I can figure. Well, what you got there?
I see it lying on the desk here. Looks like she started a letter and didn't get to finish it.
What's it say there?
Well, it's dated October 23rd. That's over a week ago. It says, Dear George, I've been meaning to write to you before, but that's all. That's as far as she got.
George. First time we've run into that name on this deal. Makes more than one man in her life.
Yeah, there's a couple of more letters here. They're all addressed to her, unopened.
Let's see.
All we can go by are the return addresses. Telephone bill, ad from a woman's store, postcard, another ad. Here's something. Santa Monica postmark.
Yeah. Check the name on that return.
Yeah. Stephen Arnold. 12:35 p.m. We called the office and checked Stephen Arnold through R&I. He had no criminal record. The return address, which he'd listed on the envelope of the letter to his wife, was 10826 Pacific Front Boulevard. We located it on the beach just below Santa Monica. It was a small hamburger stand owned and operated by the dead woman's husband.
No, I haven't seen Doris for a couple months anyway. Why?
I understand you had an apartment with your wife in the East Wilshire neighborhood. Is that right, Mr. Arnold?
Yeah, that's right.
Mind telling us why you left?
No, I don't mind. Want to move closer to my work, that's all. That place is way too far out.
Well, how is it your wife didn't move with you, sir?
She wanted to stay close to town. Doesn't care for the beach much. Bad for his sinus, I guess.
Well, did you have an argument with your wife, Arnold? Some kind of a disagreement? Is that one of the reasons you moved?
Yeah, you might call it that. We're getting a divorce.
That's so?
Yeah, it was the best thing all the way around. Did nothing but fighting and scrapping the last year anyway. We decided to call it quits. Will you excuse me a minute? I got to put some cold drinks in this cooler here.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Would either of you care for a cold drink?
No, no thanks.
Coke, maybe?
No, thanks.
Did you get the divorce from your wife, Mr. Arnold?
Yeah, that's right. I'm divorcing her. Why do you want to know?
You remember that last time you saw your wife, the exact date, I mean?
No, I don't think I remember that. Been at least 3 months, I'll say that much.
You spend most of your time down here at the beach, do you, Mr. Arnold?
Yeah, that's right. I get into town once or twice a month. Are you sure you would like a Coke?
No, thanks.
I think I'll have one myself if you don't mind. Sure, I get a cold one here. Water sure is cold.
How about last Tuesday night, sir? You happened to be in town that night?
Oh, last time was 2-3 weeks ago anyway. Went in to see a show. I was working here last Tuesday night. Work every night except Monday. It's the only night I'm closed up.
Uh-huh. Is there anyone who can vouch for that?
I don't think I get this. Why do you want to know?
Well, is there anybody who can vouch for you?
Well, sure. 6 people anyway. A fellow runs a place next door. The guys in the rest of the stalls up and down the way here, they can all vouch for me. I work till 1 a.m., same as usual. Here, just a minute. Hey, Vic? Vic? Yeah, Steve. You hop over here for a minute? Something I want to talk to you about. Yeah, just a minute. Okay, Vic, thanks. He'll be right over. Hey, you fellas want a cup of coffee or anything?
No, I would like to have change for that cigarette machine, though, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Okay. There you are.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, Steve? Hey, these fellas are detectives, Vic. Guess about some kind of jam my wife got into. They want to know where I was last Tuesday night.
Yeah?
They want somebody to vouch for me.
Sure. Did you see Mr. Arnold last Tuesday night?
I was working next door. Steve was here all night.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
Millions heard it, yet only 52 have written.
Starting on Dragnet over 2 months ago, on September 20th to be exact, Fatima made a special money-back offer to more than 10 million listeners. The results? Amazing.
Millions heard it, yet only 52 have written.
If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's famous offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos. If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before December 1st, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Fatima's latest sales report shows Fatima sales up in every state in America. The month of October, coast to coast, actual figures show Fatima sales up 110%, or more than double.
Yes, thousands and thousands of Americans are switching to king-size Fatima. So why wait? Switch to Fatima today. Extra mild. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Saturday, October 31st, 2 p.m. Ben and I checked with a dozen different concession operators in the neighborhood of Stephen Arnold's eating place. They all corroborated the fact that on the night his wife had met her death in a downtown hotel, Arnold had been working at his stand until 1 a.m. Despite all the previous indications that he might have been responsible for the murder of his wife, we had to eliminate him as a possible suspect. 2:20 p.m. On the way back into town, we stopped by the apartment hotel where Doris Fraser was living at the time of her murder. After checking further with the tenants and with the help in the building, we found out that the victim had been in the habit of eating most of her meals at restaurants in the immediate neighborhood. After some 2 hours of checking and running into 6 restaurants, we found a small coffee shop 4 blocks from the apartment building where one of the waitresses identified Doris Fraser's picture.
Yeah, that's her, officer. Terrible picture, though. She looks so much older.
About how often would you say Miss Fraser came in here, ma'am?
Well, 3 or 4 times a week, I'd say. The bus stop's right out there on the corner. She'd usually have breakfast, then grab the bus and go to work. Some nights coming home from work, she'd stop in here for dinner. Nice girl, quiet.
Did you get to know her at all, miss? I mean, did you happen to know any of her friends here in the neighborhood?
No, as I say, she was a quiet person, not very talkative. She usually read while she was eating, book or magazine.
Uh-huh. Did she ever come in here with anyone else? Do you know that?
Yeah, quite a few times. She seemed to have a boyfriend. Of course, she was attractive, small, you know, but real cute looking.
Mm-hmm. Do you happen to know any of these men?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Any one of them in particular she came in with very often?
Well, let's see. I think there was one, blonde, good dresser, kind of tall, good looking. They usually came in together for breakfast.
How long ago was this, miss? Do you recall?
Oh, I'd say up until a couple of weeks ago. I usually waited on him in the morning. That's how I happen to remember.
I see. Did you ever happen to hear this man's name?
Let me see. George, I think that was it, yeah.
Uh-huh. Would you happen to know if he lives in the neighborhood?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Has this man been in here during the past week, do you know?
Yes, he has. He came in for breakfast.
What day was that?
This morning.
Before we left the coffee shop, we questioned the cashier who came up with the information that the man known as George usually left his car parked at the service station across the street. We left our card and asked the cashier to call us in case the suspect returned. At the service station, they also remembered the man known as George, but they told us he hadn't been in for the past month. They'd done some work on his car for him in the past, so they had a record of his license number. We called our DMV and found that the car was registered to a Carl Lucy in East Hollywood. 4:45 p.m. We drove out and interviewed Lucy at his home, but he came nowhere near the description of the suspect. He told us that he had purchased the car 6 weeks before from a man known as George Crane. He described Crane as tall, blond, and well-dressed. From the bill of sale, we got Crane's address, a motel on East Manchester. The manager there told us that George Crane had moved a week before. He said that Crane had left no forwarding address, but he did remember where he worked. He was a driller in one of the oil fields down in Long Beach. We checked the oil company's personnel office downtown, but they were closed for the day. 6:18 p.m. We went back to the office and pulled the package on George Crane from R&I.
Get anything on him?
Yeah, he's got a record. Here's the package here.
Yeah.
Nothing very heavy. Drunk charge 2 years ago. Another one last year. Disorderly conduct. Resisting arrest. That's about all.
Let's see. Yeah, description checks out all the way.
You called the night office of that oil company, did you?
Yeah, they couldn't tell us anything. Said call back first thing in the morning. Want to reach you?
I got it, yeah. Homicide, Friday. Who? Oh, that's... Oh, yeah, sure. Yes, sir. No, sir, I'm afraid not. Yeah, thanks anyway. You bet. Yeah, goodbye. Well, that does it.
Who was it?
That guy who was in here the other day. You remember that Alfred P. Morgan or whatever it was?
Oh, what did he want?
Wanted to buy us a drink. He's celebrating.
Huh?
His old friend Maud. He just found her. 8 a.m. the next morning, we checked with the personnel department of the oil company's downtown offices. They told us that George Crane was employed as a driller, that he'd been working for the company for the past 5 years, and that he had a good employment record. They told us he was on the day shift and that he was scheduled to report for work on Rig 619 at the Long Beach field at 8 o'clock that morning. Ben and I got in the car, drove down to Long Beach, where we located the murder suspect, George Crane, at work in the field.
Doris Frazier? No, I'm sorry, Sergeant. I don't think I know anybody by that name.
How about Doris Arnold, Mr. Crane? Would you know anybody by that name?
Arnold? No, I'm afraid not. What's it all about?
You own a car, do you, sir?
Yeah, that's it right over there, that dark sedan.
Yeah. Have you had it long?
Oh, I've had it a couple of weeks. Last one I had was giving me a lot of trouble.
Did you trade it in?
No, I sold it to a private party, a fellow out in Hollywood.
You mind taking a look at this picture, Mr. Crane?
Yeah. Doesn't look like anybody I know. Why, am I supposed to?
We think you should, yes, sir.
I don't think I follow you.
Do you spend any time around the East Wilshire district, Crane?
East Wilshire, you said?
Yeah.
No, I've probably been over there a couple of times. Not lately, though.
How about the coffee shop on the corner of Gramercy and Marengo? You ever been in there?
Not that I remember, no.
Well, a waitress in that coffee shop and the cashier, too. They say they've got a pretty regular customer. He fits your description exactly. You sure you've never been in there?
Well, I'm not positive. I wouldn't swear I've never been in the place. What's the difference, anyway?
Well, how about that service station across the street from the coffee shop? You ever parked your car there? They ever do any work on it for you?
Oh, say, I bet I know the place you're talking about. Yeah, I've been there quite a few times. Good station. They done some good jobs on the car for me. I remember it now.
Well, then I guess you remember the coffee shop. Crane?
Yeah, I think I do now. Right across the street from the station, that it?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what do you want to know about it?
When's the last time you were in there, Crane?
Well, tell you the truth, I couldn't be sure.
Well, we talked to a waitress in there yesterday. She said you were in that morning for breakfast. Do you remember that?
She's way off the track on that one, I can tell you that. I wasn't near the place yesterday morning.
Well, the cashier remembers you, too. She says you were in. How about it, Crane?
Look, what difference does it make? What's this thing all about, anyway?
Want to take another look at this picture?
Well, I told you once, I don't know the woman. I never saw her before in my life.
Why don't you give it some thought?
Huh?
I said, why don't you give it some thought? You remembered East Wilshire. You remembered the service station. You finally remembered the coffee shop. Maybe you can remember her if you try.
I tell you, I don't know her. I never saw her in my... Look, let's go in the shed where we can hear each other, huh?
All right.
Yeah, that's a little better, huh?
The waitress in the place says you were in there quite a few times with a woman. You usually came in for breakfast. You stopped going there about 2 weeks ago.
I don't know her.
What's the matter, Crane? You figure you got something to hide?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know her. What do you figure she's got to do with me, anyway?
We checked her apartment, mister. We found a letter she was writing to you. You about ready to tell us?
What's a letter? That doesn't mean anything. Can't prove anything by the letter. What are you thinking, anyway?
We think you're lying, Crane. We think you got a reason for it. What do you say?
Doesn't prove anything. Maybe I knew her, and that doesn't mean anything at all.
We think it does.
Yeah?
We think you killed her.
That the way it looks to you?
That's the way it looks.
I don't think you can prove it.
We're going to try. Now, how about it?
Will it go any easier for me if I admit it?
That's not up to us.
I don't know why I did it. What am I going to give for a reason? I don't know why I killed her.
I wouldn't know, Crane.
Didn't really have any reason. That sounds funny, doesn't it? No reason at all. I just killed her. What am I going to tell him? If I don't have a reason, how can I ask him to let me off easy? How can I ask him?
I don't know, but they'll have an answer.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On February 8th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 92, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, all of us on Dragnet sincerely hope that all of you enjoyed a happy Thanksgiving. And now, for a moment, we'd like to look ahead, pass along a gift suggestion for the coming holidays. Your neighborhood dealer now has Fatimas in colorful, smart Christmas wrappers. You'll find they make a perfect gift. Fatima's extra mildness and better flavor, Fatima quality, is bound to please every king-size cigarette smoker. Remember, this holiday season, give your friends Fatima in the distinctive new Christmas carton. Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes.
George Martin Crane was tried and convicted in Superior Court of murder in the first degree. He is now serving a life term in the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Next, Counter Spy fights international intrigue. Stay tuned to NBC.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, International Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Wednesday at 9, and CBS brings you Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery and suspense and adventure in tonight's story of The Lady Who Wanted to Live.
Trouble comes cheap in this town. There's one item that's always on the market. You don't even have to go shopping for it. Somebody knocks on your door or dials your number, and you've got all you can handle. I found that out when I met Amy Goodrich, a long, low blonde with lots of speed. One look at her, and you knew you'd been friends too long. We met last Friday afternoon. I'd been out of town 2 days looking for a guy who turned up in jail in Reno. I was home counting the lumps in my mattress, trying to catch up on some sleep, when the phone began jumping around on the hook. I thought it might be somebody with Rose Bowl tickets. I was wrong. It was the Lion. Hello?
Regan, is that you?
What do you want?
Oh, it's a beautiful afternoon. The sun's shining. There's a tang in the air. How'd you like to take a nice drive out to the beach?
The season's over.
Oh, but this is a new season. Fall, Regan. Light suntan, wild ocean. Doesn't it excite you?
I haven't had any sleep in 2 days.
I know. And I hate myself for disturbing you. I just hate myself.
Get to the point, Fatso.
Well, something very important has come up, Jeffrey. I wouldn't trust anybody but you to handle it. And besides, the sea air will do you good. Give you a lift.
This isn't Berlin. Say something.
Well, I want you to call on our new client. She's a nightclub singer. Has a beach cottage in Santa Monica, 18106 Coast Road. Her name's Amy Goodrich. You still there, Jeffrey?
Still here.
Up, my boy, to the colors, on the firing line.
Drop dead.
Oh, now that's not being a good soldier. Why, if I didn't know you,
I hung up, stuck my head under the pillow again, and waited for him to call back. He didn't. He was playing it coy. Well, I tossed around for another half hour. The mattress got worse, and then a fly started buzzing against the window shade. About that time, the blonde next door decided to leave her husband, and it got real noisy. So I rolled out of bed, threw on some clothes, and climbed in my car. I drove over to Sunset Boulevard and headed for Santa Monica. 18106 Coast Road turned out to be a bundle of flagstone and glass brick piled up against the ocean. Had a lot of angles, like a shyster lawyer. Figure whoever built it never heard of the FHA. Front door was open. Inside, a skinny little guy with a complexion like dried codfish was catching up on his music appreciation. His eyes swung around when I walked in. It looked like they'd been hurting him all his life. He turned the record player down, but those elevator shoes brought him up to my chin.
I'm listening to music. Whatever you're selling, we don't want any.
How do you know?
We never want anything. So long.
Amy around?
Who are you?
My name's Regan.
What do you want?
You her?
She's around. All right. She's out back on the patio, taking a sunbath. You didn't tell me what you want with her.
I don't. She wants me. Okay?
Okay, sure, okay. Why should you be any different?
Traffic problem, huh?
We need stoplights. Go right on through the dining room.
Just in case I want to write this up, who are you?
Felix. Felix Beethoven. Well?
I didn't say anything. When I saw her on the patio by the beach, I knew why Felix was hurting. Amy Goodrich was the kind of blonde they put on those resort hotel calendars in Las Vegas. No matter what month it was, she'd always start you looking around for spring. There wasn't enough material in her sunsuit to make a good pen wiper. And when she smiled at me, I began to feel warm inside, like a radio with a broken coil.
I know it's warm for this time of year, but you aren't wearing a sheepskin.
It wouldn't fit in this crowd.
You're from Mr. Lyon, aren't you?
How'd you know?
Well, he said he was sending me his best man. So, Mr. Regan, come over here and sit by me. Huh?
Sure, I won't crowd you.
Mm-mm.
You're a party lady.
I always drink scotch. How about you?
Maybe. Later.
Well, so you're the lion's eye, huh? Very nice.
Depends on how you look at it. I had to crawl out of bed to come over here.
Oh? You haven't been sick, I hope.
Well, when you work for the line, you just don't get much sleep.
Oh, I see. I thought you looked nice and strong.
I'll tell my tailor.
And quick, too. Look, you can relax, Regan. This job is going to be easy.
What is the job?
Protecting me.
If you're going to wear that all the time, I'd better send for reinforcements.
I think you'll be able to handle it. You'll do just fine.
If I know who I'm protecting you from.
Yes, I suppose you do have to know that. Have you ever heard of Tim Conover, Mr. Regan?
Yeah. He runs an upholstered cigar box downtown. Diamond Club.
He plays for keeps.
I've heard.
And apparently I interest him.
It figures.
I worked for him 2 years ago singing. He became very interested in me, but I turned him down.
Conover wouldn't like that.
He doesn't. He has another girlfriend now, a Helen Lesser. I thought she'd take his mind off me, but she hasn't.
You still saw him?
He's been around half a dozen times this past week, casing the place. I think he's got some nasty ideas.
Like?
I don't know. But he might not be very gentle.
So, I hang around until he shows up, huh?
Mm-hmm. You protect me, Mr. Regan. I want you to stay real close to me.
I, could go to the Diamond Club, talk to him.
You could, but he doesn't impress easily. And, I'd still want you around.
I see. You don't want me to talk to him?
There'll be time for that later. But right now, let's you and I get acquainted.
Your boyfriend isn't going to like that.
Phillips? He's only my arranger. He writes better if he's jealous.
He must turn out a couple of operas a day. He's got a bad ticker, hasn't he?
Oh, he's got a bad heart. But let's talk about us.
Conover, remember?
Oh, Regan, don't go. I hate to be alone.
I'll be back.
Why'd you stay for dinner? I'll send Felix out to a double feature or something.
I'm hired. I have to see Conover.
All right. Kiss me goodbye.
No thanks, lady. I gotta drive. But it figured Amy never read the vehicle code. I didn't mind when her arms went around me, but I could feel something else on the back of my neck. Eyes. Somewhere in that house Felix was watching, and I knew he wouldn't like the kind of music we were making.
Hurry back, baby.
I could still feel him watching when I broke away and walked back through the house. He wasn't in the dining room, so I went through the archway to the living room. I didn't find him, but he found me. For a guy with a bad ticker, he was fast on his feet. He had a letter opener in his hand, but I didn't see the afternoon mail. I grabbed for him, he stood away. Then he came around again. This time I got my hand around his wrist. Drop it, Buster. Drop it. Take it easy. You got small bones. You're not built for rough work.
Leave her alone. Leave her alone, Regan. You leave her alone.
Felix got his idea across all right, but he had a one-track mind. I tried some questions, but got no answers. I figured Conover might do better, so I got in my car and drove back into town. It was just getting dark when I parked in Figueroa near Olympic, in front of the Diamond Club. Things were slow when I walked in, too early for the jingle you spin crowd. When I asked for Conover, the bartender blinked a couple of wet stones at me.
In back, bud,
jerked his
in
head
back.
toward the rear. I got as far as the shuffleboard table when a brunette eased out of the shadows. She wasn't wearing a coat, and it figured she was there to stay.
May I help you?
I'm looking for Tim Conover.
I'm expecting him. Come on in. Sit down, Mr.
Regan.
Oh, so you're Jeff Regan.
Ring a bell?
I've heard the name before. It fits you. You're a private investigator. Yes, of course. Tim's not in any trouble, is he?
Not yet.
What do you mean?
Maybe I better talk to him about it. Huh?
Well, if it's that important, I better find him. Make yourself at home, Mr. Regan. If you like scotch...
Thanks. I helped myself to that, waited around for about 10 minutes. The phone rang once, and I let it go. A guy in a blue suit stuck his head in the door, said something about getting the wrong room, backed out. I was just catching up on my music when the door opened. Through the mirror, I saw Conover. A gray suit with a bulge in the front of his coat.
There he is, Tim.
Thanks, baby. I didn't know you played, Regan.
Hello, Conover.
I was having dinner. Helen tells me you've got something on your mind.
That's right. Do I unload it now? In front of her?
Well, why not? She's my baby.
This is about another baby of yours. Do I go on?
It's your show, Regan.
Amy Goodrich wants you to know she's got protection.
Oh? Well, all right, Regan. You did your job. You told me Amy's got protection. See you somewhere.
She wants to be left alone.
All right, she wants to be left alone. Anybody bothering her?
You are, according to her.
This guy's working in a weed field, Angel. I got over her a long time ago. I haven't seen her in 2 years.
I believe you, Tim.
All right, Regan. She believes me. This is where you get off.
Amy says she's seen you hanging around her place lately. Makes her nervous.
Wrong guy, Regan. You made a big mistake.
Sure. So did the guy who picked Michigan.
Look, I don't know what your pitch is, or Amy's, but I'm not buying any.
You may change your mind.
You know, you've been in business too long, taking too many rabbit punches. You ought to start taking care of yourself.
You ring, boss?
Yeah. Get rid of this bum.
They were a real pretty pair of muscles. One of them had a nose that looked like he'd been dipping it in an ink bottle all his life. The other one had an ear that could have passed for a golf ball. Well, they walked me out a door that opened onto an alley in back of the club. That's when the one with all the nose frisked me.
Hey, just in case, Patty, just in case.
Get your hands off me, punk.
Easy. We're just...
Yeah, Gussie says take it easy. Hey, look. State of California. Gun and all. This guy's a gumboots. Max.
What?
I don't like no gumboots. Gumboots worse than a bum.
You hear that, gumboots? Gussie says a gumboots is worse than a bum. You don't talk.
Gumboots, how tough are you? Still don't talk.
Hey, Gussie asked you, how tough you are, huh? Are you tough? Tough? Not so tough.
My turn. Hold him.
All right.
Now, Gumboots, here's what we get on answer.
Very nice, Gussie.
Thank you. Come on, Maxie. We'll be late for dinner.
Yeah, what about him?
Ain't you hurt? He don't feel like eating tonight.
I don't know how long I was away, but when I came back, I felt like I'd been sleeping on the wrong side of the world. I was still in that alley, and it was still dark. My head was rattling like it was full of broken glass. A yellow cat with an inferiority complex was sitting there looking at me. All over once, he started running.
Regan.
I didn't try to catch him.
Regan. Regan.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Wake up.
Yeah.
Have you been drinking?
Oh, shut up.
I send you out on a simple little job. I put all my faith and trust in you, and what do? Wind up in an alley drunk.
Get out of here.
Nuzzled up to a garbage pail, bleary-eyed, with melon seeds in your hair.
Stop
How
blowing
can you...
steam, Fatso. You're not a locomotive.
Now, don't get so excited. You're getting seeds all over.
Give me a hand, will you?
Yeah.
How'd you get here?
Amy Goodrich called. She was getting worried about you. Said you went over to see Conover. She wanted me to stop you.
I figured she would, but she's too late. A couple of his boys played beanbag with my skull.
Well, who does Conover think he is, anyway, pushing my boy around? Just who does he think?
There's the door. Go in and ask him.
Well, now, I couldn't do that. Well, tell me, what's this all about?
That's what you're going to tell me.
But I don't know anything.
Amy Goodrich must have told you something when she hired me. If you're holding out on me...
But I'm not, Jeff.
Well, then start checking. Find out about Conover.
Conover? What do you want to know about?
Everything. Find out, for example, if there's anything Amy Goodrich could be blackmailing him with.
Blackmail? Regan, what is going on?
I told you I don't know.
Well, then make a guess.
Okay. It looks like everyone's in love with Amy. I left the lion standing there. He looked worried, like an elephant with a skin rash. None of it made sense. I knew I'd have to get some answers before long. I drove over to my place and straightened myself out with a shower and some Johnny Walker. A half hour later, I was back out in Santa Monica. The fog was closing in over the house when I rang the bell. Nobody answered. But somewhere in the back there was a light, so I walked around on the sand. The patio was empty. Inside, Amy was sitting on a zebra-striped couch. She was wearing a white strapless thing with a splash of red in one shoulder. She had a movie magazine in one hand and a drink in the other. But she wasn't having a very good time. She was dead.
This is CBS, and you are listening to The Story of the Lady Who Wanted to Live. Tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator.
Well, the lion wasn't going to like it. His client, Amy Goodrich, was dead, and she wasn't in the market for protection anymore. I looked around for a gun, but didn't find it. Then I picked up the phone and put in a call to homicide. But I never talked to them. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Felix standing out on the patio. He saw me. I hit the floor and pulled her ass with me. Even after the gun was empty, he stood there pulling the trigger. Then he threw it down and began running toward the ocean. I went after him.
Hold still. Hold still. Now let me go. You'll drown. I don't care.
I loved her, Regan. I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I killed her. It doesn't make sense, does it?
Sure it does, but you're not going to tell yourself.
The police.
What about him?
I phoned them. I told them everything.
When?
Just before you came.
Come on.
But they'll be here. Let's go.
Yeah, that's why I said come on. I dragged him out of the surf and got him into my car. He kept mumbling all the way into town. It was 2 minutes after 10 when we got to my apartment. 3 phone calls turned up the lion in a Turkish bath. He kicked, but when I told him what happened, he said he'd come right away. 20 minutes later, he walked in. He still had a towel wrapped around his head. He looked like Sitting Bull in an Easter bonnet.
Where is he, Regan? Where is he?
In there, asleep.
Asleep? Just like that, he can drop off to sleep after what he's done?
I gave him some pills.
What about homicide?
You already called him.
But they'll be looking for him down at the beach. We've got to stay clean, Regan. I'm going to phone homicide.
Pick up that phone and I'll ram it so far down your throat you'll get a busy signal out of your hip pocket.
This is murder. What's gotten into you?
You're not going to toss Felix to the wolves.
Regan, you'll find the girl dead. Felix has the gun. He admits killing her. What are you saving him for? What are you going to do with him? Stop him and put him on your mantle?
He's a fall guy, a patsy. He didn't do it.
He didn't kill her?
He was carrying this gun. He took 6 shots at me tonight. That's all it holds. There's 1 bullet in her, and he didn't have any extra slugs. Now, what did you find out about Tim Conover?
Oh, he's clean, Regan. Absolutely clean. Unless you want to count a court-martial. He celebrated V.E. Day by poking a major in the chops.
What else?
He kicked him, too.
All right.
Hey, where are you going?
Out. Look, you stay here and keep Felix company.
Oh, of course, Regan. I'll do that. Run along. You needn't worry. I'll watch over Felix like a father.
You'd better.
But the cops will be here. It won't take them more than an hour or 2 to find him.
Yeah, and I've got just that long to find out who really killed Amy Goodrich.
All right. I suppose I'll have to go along. After all, we're working hand in hand in this thing.
In that case, I'll hide my ring. I didn't like the idea of leaving the lion there with Felix, but there was nothing else I could do. Besides, I still had to do business with a guy named Conover. I was just getting into my car when I felt a gun in my back. And right away, I knew Conover had business with me.
All right, Regan. We got things to talk over. Now just keep walking straight ahead, the black sedan. Now, Regan, you sit in front with Helen. I'll take the back seat. Okay, Helen.
Where to, Tim?
Nowhere. Regan and me can do our talking right here. It's quiet.
Tim, are you sure you're doing right?
Please, let me handle this, baby. All right, Regan, what's the play? I know Amy's dead. Now, let's just take it from there.
Who told you?
I was there tonight.
Tim, you shouldn't. He'll involve you. He'll tell the police.
I said I'll handle this, baby.
So you were there. I know, don't tell me. She was already dead when you showed up.
No, not quite. All I got out of her was the name of some guy, Dolan, and something about Lake Tahoe. She seemed to think I know what it was about.
And you didn't?
No. Kind of figured you'd tell me.
All right. Blackmail.
Amy? Blackmailing me? You didn't know her very well, did you, Regan?
She said she needed protection. I think she wanted a strong-arm boy.
No, it doesn't fit. She was no good, but not blackmail. It doesn't fit at all.
Maybe I can make it fit.
Don't try. I'm not going to be tagged for this thing, Regan. You know some answers. Maybe you better start talking right now. I said start talking.
I didn't know if Conover was just looking for information or if he wanted to find out how much I knew about a guy named Dolan in Lake Tahoe. Well, I had a 50-50 chance. I could get the butt of that gun across my face, or I could try walking away and take a chance of getting a bullet in my back. And then I saw an old coupe, Oklahoma license, limping along the other side of the street. I opened the door, stepped out onto the sidewalk. I kept on going into the middle of the street. Conover yelled, but he didn't fire. And then the coupe slammed on the brakes.
What's the matter with you, Pilgrim? You want to get yourself bashed up standing out in the middle of the street? Want to get yourself all bashed up,
We ran out of gas.
Join an auto club. Pay your dues.
There's no phone. Could you give me a lift?
I wasn't going anyhow. Well, climb in. And do it the bowling alley. Hey, what are them two going to do? Sit there and nick?
I didn't answer that. But when we pulled away, Conover was just sitting there staring. But there was nothing to stare at. Helen was different. She registered one look. Fear. 15 minutes later, the Oklahoma license dropped me off at Vermont and Franklin, where I got a cab. All the way downtown, I kept wondering about Conover's play. He could have stopped me, but he didn't. That could mean he hadn't shot Amy. It could also mean he had shot her, but he knew about Felix confessing over the phone to the police. At the Examiner morgue, I found Ned Fuller looking at a girly magazine. I told him what I wanted, and 10 minutes later he spread out a file dated May 9th, 1945.
Is this it? Wealthy playboy shot to death. Willard J. Dolan, San Francisco socialite, found dead at Lake Tahoe cabin.
That's it.
Oh, well, they never did solve it. There's some stuff here about a mystery
I can
woman.
read.
They think she might have done it. Somebody seen her come out of the cabin that night. She's tall, blonde.
First name, Amy.
No, they never found out who she was.
Somebody did.
Oh, well, there was witnesses. Yeah, let's see here. Mr. and Mrs. Franklin James, San Diego people. They saw the dame come out. They couldn't give a good description of her.
Want to bet?
A bet? Sure, I'll take Notre Dame. Who'll you take?
I'll take a guy named Tim Conover.
Regan.
Hello, Conover. You're staying up late tonight.
You work awfully hard for a buck soldier.
That's for what your boys did to me out in an alley.
I wonder what makes a guy walk into trouble 3 times in one day. You got a lot of nerve, Regan, but you use it in the wrong places.
I'm just getting started.
All right, make your play. What's next?
You talk.
What about...
Dolan, Willard J.
I told you.
Lake Tahoe, May 9th, 1945. Talk, Conover. All right, then I'll talk. A tall blonde named Amy Goodrich. An unsolved murder at Lake Tahoe. But there was a witness. When I first came over here, I guess she was blackmailing you. I was wrong. You were blackmailing her.
You stink, Regan. I told you you wouldn't tag me for this.
Well, you're wrong.
No, he isn't, Mr. Regan.
Oh, so that's it.
Thanks, Helen. Give me the gun. I'll run things from now on. I don't know what you get out of this, Regan, but you got your engine switched.
Look, a mixed-up guy named Felix Beethoven actually thinks he killed Amy, and he didn't. I've got him on ice, but the cops will get him, and when they do, he's on his way to the gas chamber.
Oh, Tim, please, let's get out of here. Let's not listen.
Wait a minute, baby, wait. So I was blackmailing Amy. I had a good thing, but I shot her. And I was the mystery witness at Lake Tahoe. I thought you were a better gumshoe than that, Regan.
What does that mean?
The date was May 9th, 1945. You mean you haven't looked me up?
All of a sudden, it hit me. Something the lion had said about V.E. Day and a major who got hit in the chops. And the whole thing came apart at the seams. Conover couldn't have been the witness. He was in a guardhouse in Germany. I began to feel helpless, like a glassblower with hiccups. For the first time in my life, I really wanted to talk to the lion. I looked at the gun in Conover's hand, then I reached for the phone and dialed. Slow. He didn't stop me.
Anthony J. Lyons.
Lion, the cops.
Oh, Regan. They're not here yet.
Felix?
Still asleep.
Well, get him out of there.
Regan, I can't do that.
Get him out of there. We broke our pick.
What?
I've been working the wrong angle. We got to have more time.
Well, I can't get him out of here now. We'll be seen. You must have something.
I have. A guy named Willard Dolan was killed at Lake Tahoe. A Mr. and Mrs. Franklin James were the witnesses. But Conover isn't...
Regan.
Hold it. Yeah?
That name.
Mr. and Mrs. Franklin James?
Hang up.
Regan, what's going on?
Hang up.
Jeffrey, are you...
Helen's got something to tell you.
Oh, Tim, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead, baby. Tell him.
Tim.
Wait a minute. Mrs. Franklin James.
Yeah, Mrs. Franklin James.
All right. I was Mrs. Franklin James. I was a witness. I did blackmail Amy.
And you figured me to be the fall guy. You've hung around just so you could use me if the heat ever came on.
No, I swear, Tim. I love you. I never meant to get you involved. But I used a piece of your stationery once. Amy had a trace.
So she figured it was Conover all the time.
Yes. Oh, I went crazy trying to cover it up. Because I love you, Tim. I love you. I couldn't let anything happen to you.
No, but you set me up for a murder rap.
No, I wasn't. I was trying to protect you. Don't you see Amy was going to kill you, Tim?
She was going to kill me.
Yes. Oh, she wanted Regan Powers to set up that story about your threatening her. And then she could claim self-defense.
But it didn't work that way.
No. You came around. I couldn't let Tim find out. I couldn't let anybody find out.
You killed her, didn't you?
Yes, I killed her. For you, Tim. I killed her for you. We can get away, darling. Regan's the only one who knows.
Sure, and the kid with the bum ticker takes the rap. Except that somebody might ask questions about what happened to me.
We'll have to take that chance, Tim. Regan's the only one who can make trouble for us.
Us, baby?
What?
I don't have any troubles. You have.
Oh, Tim. You're joking. Listen to me.
You're wasting your time.
Tim. You won't help me?
No.
You won't help me?
No.
But if you let them arrest me, I'll die. They'll convict me. Oh, please, you have the gun, Tim. You can save me. I don't want to die. I love you. I want to live. I don't want to.
All right, Regan. You better get her out of here.
Tim!
Regan, I said get her out of here.
Well, that's the way it wound up. Helen went to headquarters. Tim went back to his club. I went out of town for a few days. When I got back, I drifted into the office. The Lion gave me the wind-up. A report on Felix.
Yes, Regan. Those doctors worked on Felix Beethoven 3 days. Psychiatric medicine's a profound study. Profound. They finally convinced him he didn't kill Amy.
Yeah.
That's sad. He loved that woman as cruel as she was to him. He loved her a great deal. I suppose life will be lonely for him now that she's gone.
You're wrong.
What do you mean?
I saw him in Hollywood today. He's got a new friend, one with red hair.
You mean to tell me he's willing to do it again? To accept abuse from another woman? Why, that man's a natural for any woman's dominance.
He hasn't got a thing to worry about.
But you said she was a redhead, and I know redheads.
Yeah, but Felix is bigger than this one. Besides, the new one's a Cocker Spaniel.
Jeff Regan, Investigator, was written by E. Jack Newman and Adrian Jondo, directed by Sterling Tracy. Frank Graham is starred as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Fatima Cigarettes. Best of all, king-size cigarettes brings you Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. An unidentified armed bandit starts a campaign of jewelry store holdups in your city. The robberies are carefully planned, carefully executed. The bandit commits brutal attacks on each of the victims. Your job? Get him. The latest Fatima sales report shows thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers are switching to Fatima.
For the month of October, coast-to-coast actual figures show Fatima sales are up 110%, or more than double.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Remember, thousands of Americans are switching to extra-mild Fatima. Next time, insist on the best, king-size Fatima, in the distinctive golden yellow package.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, March 10th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Didion. My name's Friday. It was 3:28 p.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery detail.
Joe?
Yeah, Ben. Joe, this is Mr. and Mrs. Gordon. Folks, I'd like to have you meet my partner, Sergeant Friday. How you doing? Glad to know you.
How are you, Sergeant?
Mrs. Gordon, are you feeling any better now?
Qu'est-ce qu'il a dit, Robert?
Il veut savoir comment tu te sens. Raconte-leur ce que tu sais de Val. She's a lot better now, Sergeant, thank you. My French isn't very good, but it's a lot better than her English. The field's only been over here a couple of weeks. I met her when I was on occupation duty over there. Army, you know.
Yeah, I see. Well, we'll try not to keep you long, sir. We got a few questions about the robbery. We think your wife might be able to help us.
Well, we'll sure try, Sergeant. Like to help you any way we can.
Your wife was the only one in the store besides the clerk at the time of the hold-up. Like to have her tell us everything that happened, if she would, please.
Okay. Qu'est-ce qui est arrivé à la bijouterie?
Oh, oui, je peux leur dire, j'ai tout vu.
She says she saw everything that happened, Sergeant. What would you like to know first?
Well, how about the hold-up man, Mr. Gordon? Did your wife get a good look at him? Can she describe him for us?
Cécile, peux-tu décrire le voleur?
Oh, il portait un veston bleu. C'était un homme aux cheveux bruns, pas trop grands.
Says the fellow was wearing a blue coat. He had dark hair. Wasn't a very big man.
Mm-hmm. Does she have any idea about how tall he was?
Cécile, de quelle taille? C'est-à-dire...
Costaud. Comme ça. Il viendrait jusqu'à ton épaule. Il pesait environ 80 kilos.
She can't say exactly how tall, Sergeant. Said he'd come up to about here on my shoulder, about 5'8", I guess. She thinks maybe he weighed about 170 pounds. She's not sure.
Uh-huh. Would you ask her exactly what happened at the store? That is, as much as she can remember.
Sure. Cécile, dis-leur exactement ce qui s'est passé.
Eh bien, j'étais au comptoir quand l'homme est entré. Il est allé directement au vendeur, celui qui me servait. Et il avait un revolver dans la main.
Well, she says she was standing by the counter, Sergeant, when the hold-up man came in. Says the fellow went over to the clerk, the man who was waiting on her. Says the fellow had a gun in his hand.
Would you ask her to go on, please?
Et après, Cécile?
Il a forcé le vendeur à lui donner tous les bijoux et les a mis dans un sac de papier.
She says the hold-up man made the clerk get up the jewelry. The guy took it and dumped it in a paper bag. Cécile, et après?
Puis, sans raison, après avoir obtenu tous les bijoux, il s'est mis à battre le vendeur avec le revolver. C'était terrible, terrible. J'ai commencé à crier, puis il m'a battu. C'est tout dont je me souviens. C'était terrible.
Well, after he got all this jewelry in a paper bag, the thief began beating up on the clerk. She says for no reason at all, he began slugging the clerk with a gun he was carrying. Really got nasty with him. Naturally, it scared the wife, and she let out a scream. He turned around and hit her. She says that's all she remembers. Sure like to get my hands on that lousy punk.
Yeah, I understand how you feel, Mr. Gordon. Could you ask your wife if there's anything else about the hold-up man she remembers?
Cécile, te rappelles-tu d'autres choses à propos de cet homme? Avait-il quelque chose d'extraordinaire?
No, Robert.
Well, that's about it, Sergeant.
Well, how about the man's clothes? Does she remember anything else he was wearing besides that blue jacket?
Et le reste de ses vêtements? Et par le veston bleu, t'en rappelles-tu?
Non. Je crois qu'il avait un pantalon foncé, mais je ne me rappelle pas d'autre chose. J'avais trop peur.
She thinks maybe he had on dark trousers. She's not sure, though, since she was too scared to notice. Cécile, portait-il un chapeau?
Oh, non. Il n'avait pas de chapeau.
I asked her if he was wearing a hat. She said no, she's sure of that.
I see. Well, is there anything else that she can remember about him? Anything at all?
Y a-t-il autre chose que la police devrait savoir?
Non, je leur ai tout dit. C'est tout dont je me souviens.
No, you got it all, Sergeant.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gordon, Mrs. Gordon.
Je comprends pas. Je comprends pas.
How's that, ma'am?
Cécile?
Je comprends pas pourquoi un homme ferait une chose pareille. Je comprends pas.
She says she can't understand how a man would do such a thing. She means how he cut up the clerk that way.
Yes.
Je comprends pas.
So hard for her, she just can't understand.
Tell her we can't either. 2 weeks before, on the 27th of April at 2:30 in the afternoon, the robbery suspect had begun his campaign of downtown jewelry store holdups. Since that time, in the same general area, he'd succeeded in committing 3 more jewel robberies and making good his escape. Each of the holdups netted him more than $3,000 in rings, diamonds, and other precious stones. From his M.O., it was obvious that he was experienced. All of the robberies were committed in broad daylight. All of them were apparently well planned. After obtaining the loot, which he dumped into an ordinary paper bag, he turned on his victims and with no provocation beat them viciously. After 2 weeks of investigation, we had yet to come up with a solid lead on either the identity of the suspect or his whereabouts. We had a fair description of the hold-up man. We had a good rundown on his method of operation, but repeated checks on possible suspects through the Record Bureau, CII in Sacramento, and through our statistician's office failed to get us anything. There were no kickbacks on our all-points bulletin. After we interviewed Mrs. Gordon, the witness to the latest jewel robbery, we were no further along than we were 2 weeks before. An M.O. and a description. Neither one of them were giving us much help. 4:05 p.m., we met with Captain Didion.
How about the mug books? Any luck there?
Miss Gordon's in there now, Skipper, with her husband. They're checking through them. Nothing yet.
Mm-hmm. What else you got working?
New run going through the stats office. Third one this week might get us something.
The store manager on that job this afternoon. Did you talk to him yet?
Yeah, we did. He gave us the best lead we've had so far in the thing. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, we had him checking the mug books, and he came up with a partial identification from one of them, San Quentin release.
No.
Jack Maynard. He's only been arrested once here, drunk charge. Done time up at Q for robbery before. Ben and I pulled a package on him. We figured he ought to still be serving time at Quentin. Couldn't tell from his record, though.
How's that?
Well, it's possible he might have been paroled the last month or so. That'd put him in line for these holdups.
Mm-hmm. You check, Quentin?
We got off the teletype to the warden's office late this morning, Skipper. We'll have an answer pretty soon. Best lead we've had so far. I hope it stands up.
Excuse me. Robbery, Didion. Yeah? Wait on that, Hughes, huh? No, you and the Caleb stay on it. Yeah, that's right. Over the weekend, anyway. Yeah, right. Bye. Well, what's the answer? He's had 3 weeks. He's cleared 4 jobs, every one of them in broad daylight. More than $10,000 worth of stuff. Now, how do we reach him?
How about some extra manpower, Skipper? Can we manage it?
What do you got in mind?
Stakeout. Seems to be the best angle for us at this time of setup.
How many teams you figure it'll take?
Oh, a dozen anyhow. You figure that, Joe?
Yeah, just about. The thief seems to be concentrating on the downtown area. All 4 holdups were in the same general neighborhood within a 20-block radius.
Mm-hmm.
We can't cover all the jewelry stores with a dozen teams. It'll give us pretty good coverage, though. Sure help our chances.
Mm-hmm. You checked out all the other angles, huh?
Everything. Not doing us much good.
Robbery, Didion. Yeah, just a minute.
You, Friday. Oh, thanks. Yeah, Friday talking. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. That's so. No, we'll pick it up, thank you. This communications just got an answer on that teletype to Quentin.
From Jack Maynard? What'd they say?
No lead. He's still in prison. We went back and started again from the beginning. With our best lead gone, there wasn't any alternative. The following day, Thursday, March 11th, the stakeouts went into effect. A dozen jewelry stores in the immediate downtown area, all of them potential holdup victims, were placed under constant surveillance. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. No sign of the holdup man. We stayed on it. Tuesday, March 16th, 11 a.m. At a small downtown jewelry shop 3 blocks from the nearest stakeout team, the bandit committed his 5th successive robbery and made good his escape. The M.O. and description matched in almost every respect. Ben and I answered the call and drove to the scene of the holdup to interview the victim, a Mr. Walter Myers.
He came straight back this way, just where I'm walking. I was at the end of that counter there, just where you are. He had a brown paper bag in one hand, and it was just a couple of feet from me. He put his other hand in his coat pocket, and he came up with a gun, pointed it right at me.
Store was empty at the time, sir? No customers around?
Yeah, that's right. Just myself and my son-in-law, Herb, in the back room. I guess he heard this thief talking to me, and he came out to see what it was all about. That's when the fireworks started.
And what happened?
Well, he made Herb line up along the counter right next to me. By this time, he had all the loot he wanted in that paper bag he was carrying. Just when I thought he was going to leave, he turned around. All of a sudden, he said to Herb, "You think you're a smart guy, don't you?" Then he slugged Herb with the gun. Brought it right down on the side of his head, all his might.
That's when the fight started, is that right?
Just about, yeah. Herb fell down on one knee. There was a great big gash on the side of his face. Even when he was down, the thief kept slugging Herb, kept pounding him in the face with that gun. Herb wasn't doing anything. I got good and sore.
What happened then?
Well, I didn't care what happened. I just got sore at the lousy crook. I made a dive for him, grabbed him around the chest. Here, something like this.
Yeah.
The 2 of us went down on the floor, and I wrestled him for the gun. That's when it went off. A wild shot. Plowed right into the wall over there. Herb picked himself up and piled on the guy, too. I guess the crook really must have figured he was through, fought like a wild man. I had a good hold of the top coat he had on, but he slipped right out of it. He grabbed his gun and the paper bag and ran out of the store, left me there holding an empty coat.
So this is the coat he was wearing right here, is that right?
Yeah, that's it. You can see one of the sleeves there. See? He almost ripped it clean off trying to get away.
Yeah, I see.
I already looked through the pockets. Nothing in them.
Now, how about this description of the man, Mr. Myers? You're pretty sure of that, are you?
Yeah, I'm positive, Sergeant.
Ben, you want to call the crime lab? There's a phone booth right over there. You mind?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
I could check that spot where the bullet hit Mr. Myers, that wild shot he fired?
Oh, yeah. Right over here, sir. Back of the cash register.
Yeah. Bedded in there pretty solid.
You're lucky it was the wall, not one of us. Say, I got a pocket knife here if you want to dig it out.
No, sir. We've got a crew on the way out from our crime lab. Ballistics men. They'll take care of it. I would like to take another look at that top coat, the one the thief was wearing.
Oh, yeah, sure. I had already looked it over pretty good. Nothing in the pockets. Couldn't find anything. Here.
All right, sir. Just an ordinary top coat, isn't it? There's no label on it. Mm-hmm. No, you're right. There's nothing in the pockets.
What is it? Did you find something?
Oh, no, sir. It feels like a hole in the pocket here. Good sized one.
No.
Yeah.
Crime lab's on the way. Should be here in a couple of minutes.
Okay, fine.
Anything at all in the coat?
Oh, I don't know. Here. Seems to be a hole in this pocket here. It's possible something might have dropped down into the lining of the coat, maybe.
Here, let me hold out that end for you.
All right, thank you. Let me hold it up a little. That's fine, right
like
there.
This?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like something down in here.
What is it?
Hey, just a minute. I get my hand down in there. See if I can get it.
Yeah.
Here we are.
A scrap of paper. Some writing on it. What is it, Joe?
Telephone number. The phone number printed neatly on the scrap of paper was Crestview 92085. There were no other notations. We checked out the number and found that the telephone was installed at 6414 Cordova Drive in the Los Feliz district. After the crime lab crew arrived at the store, Ben and I took the bandit's top coat and drove to the address listed for the phone number, a 12-unit apartment house on the corner of Franklin Avenue and Fairfax. The number turned out to be a public phone booth located in the lobby of the apartment. The manager could tell us nothing. We began checking with the tenants on the first floor of the building. We gave them the description of the jewelry store bandit. We showed them the top coat. They failed to recognize either one. We started on the second floor at the end of the hall. The tenant was a Mrs. Iverson.
You recognize the description at all, Miss Iverson? Mean anything to you?
Yes. I'd say it did, Sergeant. Have you tried the apartment next door, Miss King's apartment?
Oh, no, ma'am. Why do you ask that?
Yes. Almost sure of it.
Ma'am?
I've seen a man who looks like this go in there several times.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
Millions heard it, yet only 52 have written.
Starting on Dragnet over 2 months ago, on September 20th to be exact, Fatima made a special money-back offer to more than 10 million listeners. The results? Amazing.
Millions heard it, yet only 52 have written.
If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's famous offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos. If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before January 1st, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Fatima's latest sales report shows Fatima sales up in every state in America. The month of October, coast to coast. Actual figures show Fatima sales up 110%, or more than double.
Yes, thousands and thousands of Americans are switching to king-size Fatima. So why wait? Switch to Fatima today. Extra mild. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
March 16th, Tuesday, 2:48 p.m. Ben and I went next door to the apartment where a man answering the description of the jewelry store bandit reportedly had been seen several times. We rang, but there was no answer. We went back and checked with the manager of the building, who told us that the apartment was registered to a Miss Lenore King. He told us that as far as he knew, Miss King worked during the day and that she usually returned to her apartment between 7 and 8 o'clock at night. The manager gave us the address of the place she worked, and we checked it out. It was an exclusive gift shop on La Cienega Boulevard in West Hollywood. We located Lenore King back at the main packing desk where she was employed as a gift wrapper. When we put the question to her that a man answering the description of the jewelry store bandit had been seen visiting her, she readily admitted it.
Yes, that's right. I'd say he looks just like that. He drops by my apartment 4 or 5 times a month. His name's Marty.
What's his last name, Miss King? Where can we find him?
I'm sorry, I never did know his last name. I'm afraid I don't know where you can find him either.
Well, how's that, Miss King? He visits you quite a bit. He's a friend of yours, isn't he?
Not exactly. I know him. That's about all. He's a friend of a friend. It's more like that.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me.
Sure.
I'm sorry. This package has a rush on it. I'll have to wrap it now. Do you mind?
No, ma'am. You go right ahead.
About this man, Marty, Miss King, you mind explaining a little more? If you don't know him well, why should he visit you so often?
Well, to tell you the truth, it's more of a favor than anything. It's for Virginia. She's my girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
And I wish I never got mixed up in it to begin with.
Well, how do you mean, mixed up in what?
Well, it's confidential, Sergeant. I'd just as soon not mention it if you don't mind.
Well, I'd like to have you tell us everything you know about it. It's a pretty important matter, ma'am.
Well, I don't know really how it started. I mean, how the two of them got together, Marty and Virginia. They just met, I suppose. Virginia fell in love with him. She had to find some way out.
How's that?
Virginia, she was crazy about Marty. I guess she still is. They didn't want to get all involved, though, neither one of them. It's romantic in a way. Could I have the scissors there, Sergeant?
Yes, here you go.
Well, the two of them want us to see each other once a week. It's enough for Virginia, she says. She loves him, that's all that counts. She doesn't want to know where Marty lives, what he does, anything about him. And I guess the same goes for Marty.
I see. So the two of them get in touch with each other through you, is that it?
That's right. Usually once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. I'd just as soon not talk about it if you don't mind, though. I can give you Virginia's address. She can tell you more about Marty than I can.
You have no idea where we can locate the man.
I'm sorry, none at all. The only contact I have is when Marty phones me or when he comes around. He leaves a message for Virginia where to meet him and when, and then he leaves. I really think you ought to talk to Virginia about it.
Uh-huh.
Here we are.
One thing I don't quite understand, ma'am.
Yes?
This girlfriend of yours, Virginia, you say she's in love with this fellow Marty?
Oh, yeah, crazy about him.
And why are they playing this hide and seek? If they're in love, why don't they come out and get married? What's the problem?
Virginia.
What?
She's already married.
Before we left Lenore King, we advised her what the situation was. In the event the suspect, Marty, contacted her, she was to get in touch with us immediately. She gave us her promise that she wouldn't disclose our conversation with her. We left her our card, and she gave us the address of her girlfriend, Virginia Brewer. It was a South Argyle Street address, but Mrs. Brewer wasn't at home. 8:15 p.m., we drove to her place of employment, a Valley nightclub out along Ventura Boulevard, where she was appearing in the floor show. She was a dancer. We located her backstage, waiting to go on.
You must have some other girl in mind, officer. I don't know anyone by the name of Marty.
You sure about that, Miss Brewer? We got it from a pretty good source.
Well, I'm sure I don't know where you got it, but it's wrong. The name isn't familiar at all. Who told you this, anyway?
Close friend of yours, ma'am. She seemed to know what she was talking about.
Well, why did I got a right to know that?
Lenore King?
Lenore? Why should she tell you a story like that?
We wouldn't know, ma'am, unless it's the truth.
Of course it's not the truth. I don't know any Marty. I don't even know what this is all about.
Well, she says you know the man, Mrs. Brewer. She says you're in love with him. She seemed to have all the details. Now, is there any good reason why she'd tell lies about you?
I don't know. You believe what she told you?
Yes, ma'am, we do, unless you can prove it's a lie.
I'm sorry. That's my introduction. I have to go on.
All right, ma'am. We'll wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You want to come back here, officers? Dressing room? We can talk there.
All right, fine.
In here.
Thank you.
Well, I suppose there isn't any point in trying to cover it over. Only one thing I'd like to ask you.
Yes, ma'am?
My husband doesn't have to know, does he? I mean, whatever there is to this.
You don't have to tell the papers, do you? You can keep it quiet.
Whatever you tell us will be strictly confidential, ma'am.
All right. I know Marty. I've known him for 6 months. Lenore wasn't lying. I'm in love with him.
Well, we're not prying into your personal life, Miss Brewer. We just like to locate this man, Marty, that's all. It's pretty important to us.
Why is it important? Why do you want him?
Robbery investigation, ma'am. We'd like to get hold of him for an interview.
Robbery? Think Marty's done something? Is that why you want him?
We're not sure. Do you have any idea where we can find him?
No, no more than Lenore. I guess she told you about it. I mean, Marty and I, how it's been.
You have no idea where he stays, where he works?
No, I don't. It's been that way from the beginning. Lenore knows as much about that as I do. Only one way I can get in touch with him, that's when he leaves a message at Lenore's, or I'll leave a message. When we first met, Marty and I, that's the way we both wanted it. He didn't want to get all involved. Because of my husband. I didn't either.
Have you seen this Marty lately, Miss Brewer?
Yes, about 10 days ago.
You expect to see him again soon?
Well, I don't know. I suppose so. He'll leave a message with Lenore if he wants me. That's all I can go on.
Well, could you leave a message for him with Lenore?
Yes, I suppose so. Have to wait till he calls, though.
Uh-huh.
Can't you tell me more about it, Sergeant? Why do you want him? What's it about?
We're going to have to ask your cooperation, ma'am. Your friend's a robbery suspect. We think he's a pretty good one.
Marty?
Yes, ma'am. And the next time he contacts you, the next time he sets up a date with you, we'd like to know where, we'd like to know when.
You think he's guilty? Really think he's done something?
Well, he's a suspect, ma'am. That's all we know.
I guess Lenore told you. I love him. Love him more than anyone. Won't make any difference.
Ma'am?
Won't make any difference. I love him. Even if he is guilty, it won't make any difference.
It will to him. 8:55 p.m. We continued questioning Virginia Brewer. Before we left, we got her promise that in the event the man known as Marty contacted her, she would notify us immediately. 9:20 p.m. We checked back in at the office and made arrangements to keep the home of Virginia Brewer under constant surveillance, as well as the apartment of her girlfriend, Lenore King. The following morning, we checked with the ballistics men at the crime lab who'd examined the slug which had been taken from the wall of Walter Meyer's jewelry store, the latest of the hold-up man's victims. It was identified as having been fired from a .32 caliber revolver. The slug was marked and filed as evidence. Thorough examination of the top coat which the suspect had left behind at his last hold-up failed to yield any new leads. The jewel trays at the store which had been held up were also checked for fingerprints. A week passed. No sign of the jewel thief. Wednesday, March 24th.
I'll grab it.
All right.
Robbery Romero. Oh, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Well, when was that? Oh, all right. Fine, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Bye.
You got anything?
That friend of Mrs. Brewer's, Lenore King.
Yeah.
Says this fellow Marty called a few minutes ago.
Uh-huh.
Set up a date with Mrs. Brewer. We're supposed to meet at Lenore's apartment.
When?
8 o'clock tonight.
4:45 p.m. We checked with Captain Didion and set up a plan to have the apartment building where Lenore King lived thoroughly covered that night. Carr and Matthews were assigned to cover outside the main entrance. McCaleb and Olson would cover the lobby. Ben and I would be in the apartment proper along with Mrs. Brewer and Lenore King. By 6 o'clock that night, we were all in position. We waited. 6:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30. We waited. Mrs. Brewer walked the floor with a drink in her hand. 7:45, 7:50. Ben watched at the window. Virginia Brewer got nervous.
You can't prove it. You don't know anything for sure. How I know you're not trying for a frame, trying to blame Marty for something he didn't do?
We're not blaming him for anything, ma'am. He's a suspect. We want to talk to him, that's all.
Why don't you sit down, huh, Virginia? No use getting upset. It'll be all right. Come on, honey. Got him all over the place, Lenore. Cops. Waiting for Marty. What am I supposed to think?
Why don't you relax, Miss Brewer? If he's not the man, you got nothing to worry about.
He's right, honey. Sit down, huh? Let me freshen up that drink.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Car pulling up outside. Sedan.
Yeah, let's see.
Right in front, see? Man getting out. Yeah, he's coming in here.
Marty.
Can't see him. He must be inside.
Marty. Marty. Why didn't he tell me?
You want to hop downstairs, Ben, see what happened, huh?
You're all right.
It'll be all right, honey. Take it easy. It'll be all right. I didn't know. I didn't know. Sergeant, why did you do it?
Do what, ma'am?
Marty. I didn't know about it. We didn't know anything about each other, and this has to happen. Why didn't he tell me?
I wouldn't know.
I love him. The rest I don't know, but I love him. If he was in trouble, he could have told me. If he loved me, he would have told me. He would have told me everything.
Well, I guess maybe you got the answer.
What?
He didn't love you.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 29th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 91, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friend, the man who sells you your Fatimas, your neighborhood cigarette dealer, is a mighty good man to go see during the holiday season. When you drop in, notice Fatima's new poster. It's a reminder that he has Fatimas in smart Christmas cartons. Now, this Christmas season, I'm buying Fatimas for all my friends. I suggest you do the same. You'll be giving the best, and believe me, they'll thank you for introducing them to Fatima quality. It's extra mildness and better flavor and aroma. Remember, ask your dealer for Fatima in the distinctive new Christmas wrapper. And when you see it, you'll agree it's the smartest of all Christmas cartons, just as it should be, because Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes.
The suspect, Martin Arthur Kessington, was wounded, but not fatally, when he attempted to resist arrest. After interrogation, he dictated a signed statement admitting guilt for all 5 of the jewelry store holdups. He was tried and convicted on 5 counts of first-degree robbery and received the sentence as prescribed by law. Robbery in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a term of 5 years to life. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Barton Yarborough is Sergeant Ben Romero. Also heard were Vic Perrin and Virginia Gregg. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles. Next, Counter Spy fights international intrigue on NBC.
This one's about Pete Kelly.
About the world he goes around in. It's about the big music, and the big trouble, and the big 20. So when they ask you, tell them this one's about the blues. Pete Kelly's blues. Pete Kelly's Blues, starring Jack Webb, with story by Joe Eisinger and music by Dick Kettenham.
My name's Pete Kelly. I play cornet. You'll find us at 417 Cherry Street, Kansas City. It's a standard speakeasy. Before Prohibition, the building housed a cleaning and dyeing plant. It hasn't changed much. The vats came in handy. It's still tough to get a clear gin, but a lady likes the idea of a drink to match the color of her dress. The lease is owned by George Lupo. He's a fat, friendly little guy who wouldn't harm a fly. There's no money in harming flies. We start every night about 10 and play till the customers get that first frightening look at each other in the early light. Lupo's working on a scheme to push the dawn back for at least one more hour. I don't think he'll make it, but I wouldn't want to risk a buck against him. The last night, everything was routine until I saw her again. We were just winding up the third set when she came in, flanked with the same deadpan gunsel.
She sat alone at the same table, ordered the same drink, smoked the same Egyptian deities, and gave me that same loving look. The gunsel, as usual, nibbled at his drink at the bar, and his eyes playing watchdog for the girl. This was the 5th night, 4 nights running, same girl, same gunsel, same routine. Sit for 5 solid hours, drink, smoke, and work me over with her eyes, reach down deep for a sigh, and leave with deadpan right behind her. Well, I didn't like it. I was beginning to taste salt on my tongue. We went into a finish, and the girl looked once at the gunsel. He nodded, left the bar, and started to the stand. All right. Nick, can you push it a little? It helps when we can hear the beat. All right, don't audition for me. Just do it, huh?
Pete.
Yeah, Red.
That babe's here again.
I know. All right, what do we got up next?
Working up a head of steam, Petey.
Well, she's beginning to make me feel like a wayside shrine.
You.
Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, you got a request? A number you'd like to
No,
have?
I got no request, but the lady, she's got a request.
The lady?
What's the matter? You don't see the lady? How come you don't see the lady when she's looking right at you?
Oh, that lady. Yeah, sure, I see the lady.
So why do you make like you don't see the lady when all the time you know the lady's looking right at you?
Look, friend, I'm only a poor underpaid employee in this trap. Now, my contract says I'm to play music to please the patrons. I'd be very happy to do anything the lady likes to please the lady.
So, all right.
So what does she want me to do?
Well, she wants you to have a drink with her.
Sure, that'd be an honor. But I'm afraid that Mr. Lupo, he's my boss, you know. George Lupo, the proprietor, he doesn't like his employees to mingle
I will
with
talk to Lupo. He'll like it.
Yeah, you could probably make him love it.
Come on.
I'll be right back, Red. Use some nickels.
Right, Petey. Vita, this is Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, this is Vita Brand.
Sit down, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, thanks.
All right now, Vita? You happy?
I'm getting happier by the minute.
Sure, you want me to go back to the bar?
Sit here, it's more friendly. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Miss Brand.
Vida.
Vita?
You like my name?
Sure, it's beautiful.
Vida. I only just got it last week.
It'll take a little time to break it in,
Let
huh?
me hear you say it.
Vida.
Yeah. I like the way you say it. Like you mean it.
Yeah, I do. I never meant anything more in my life.
That's because you're sincere. I knew you were sincere the first time I looked at you. Remember the first night I came in? Sat here and looked at you.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty busy up there, you know.
Ain't slept a wink since that night.
Well, maybe if you go home and put your mind to it, huh?
No use, Pete. I tried. Nothing's any good. Nothing I can do is going to change it.
Change what?
The way I feel.
Sick?
Yeah.
With what?
With love.
Oh, poor Vita. Yeah, well, beautiful girl like you, no trouble finding another man.
I don't want another man.
You don't want another man.
I want you.
That's what Vita wants, you.
I love you, Pete.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's the way it ought to be. Everybody will love everybody else. It's a better world. Well, I got a number to do.
Now, you shut up. The lady is trying to tell you how much she loves you, so pay attention.
Yeah.
First time I saw you, Pete, hit me like a dum-dum bullet.
Well, excuse me. I have to earn $1.
Frame it. It's the last one you'll have to earn.
All right. Let's do one. What do you got up?
Till we meet again.
All right.
Pete.
Yeah, Red.
That babe, I got the rumble on her from Lupo.
Yeah.
Ever hear of a citizen named Bacalides? The 3-for boy. 3 killings for the price of 2.
All right, Red. Funnel it down, huh?
She belongs to Bacalides. Loser, Petey. Loser.
Yeah, you told me what. Now tell me how. Well, let's try one. Let's do it till we meet again. All right, we'll make a slow intro out of the last 8. We'll go back to the top. Nick, you take the first 4 going in. Everybody got it? All right. Let's try it. Come on, let's all play it, huh? All right, once more.
Nervous, Petey?
No, I'm not nervous. Now, come on, everybody, once more.
break. Pete, Gunsel's heading this way again.
Yeah, I know. What do we got up next?
Bruce, sweet little you and his Dixie one
All
cellar.
right. Now, look, friend, I got a job to do.
From it. Let's go.
Where?
Now, you listen, Buster. This ain't a lollipop poking you in the gut. I can drop you and be out of here before you hit the floor.
Yeah, let's go. Well, we went outside. The Hispano out in front probably wasn't as long as it looked. We've got fairly short blocks in this part of town. Vida took the wheel. She banked low around the corner, pulled out of a half Immelman, gained a little altitude, and flew blind for downtown Kansas City. Vida glanced at me from the corners of charged eyes. Itch just glanced at me. I leaned my head back and closed my eyes. The Hispano whipped down Main Street, lost altitude as we gained the deserted financial district, made a perfect no-point landing at the side entrance of the Grundy Bank and Savings. Well, we went into the bank through the family entrance. One light was burning, and it hung low over the biggest dice table I ever saw in any bank. The stick man was busier than a flea on a fat lady. He called the plays and called the points, and not one of the 50 torpedoes glanced at us as we climbed a short flight to an upstairs office. 2 men were in the room. One, a shadow dressed in dark clothes, looked through a small window onto the dice game down below. A Tommy gun rested easy across his knees. The other man sat behind a desk no bigger than the loading platform at Union Station. He was counting money. Neat, orderly piles of bills were stacked around him like a well-trimmed hedge. We waited while he finished thumbing a book of 50s. He just held them up to his ear, fanned them once, made a note on a pad by his elbow. Finally, he turned his swivel chair to face us. It was all chin and jaw. He leaned back, made a church steeple with his fingers, drew me a credit manager's smile, and rocked his chair gently to and fro.
Well, come in, Mr. Kelly. Sit down. You're among friends.
Yeah, thanks.
Pete, permit me to introduce you to this here gentleman here who's very fond of you.
Sure, everybody loves me tonight.
Oh, he doesn't love you. Only I love you. He's merely very fond of you.
I am Bacalidis.
Yeah.
He's confused. Ain't he cute? Ain't he cute when he's confused?
What is your confusion?
How much time do you have?
I am at your disposal.
Well, look, it runs something like this, Mr. Bacalidis. I play cornet, see? At 4:17, I mind my own business. I try not to poke a thumb in anybody's eye. Well, I noticed this young lady here sitting out front, and tonight she asked me to have a drink with her. Well, naturally, I'm flattered.
Yes,
but,
yes, I know all this, but what is your confusion?
Well, it seems that this young lady here has some kind of an idea that she sort of likes me and...
Loves you, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, well, loves me, like you say. Well, I don't figure myself for no Rudolph Valentino, so I get an idea that it's a rib, you know, and especially since I know how both of you...
Not both. One. Me, I love Vida very much.
Oh, darling, you're sweet.
Yeah, that's right, for a fact. And when Vida thinks it over, I'm sure
There's nothing more to think over, Mr. Kelly. Vida has stopped loving me, all right, I face it. It makes me very unhappy, but I face it. Now she loves you. She wants you. I know how unhappy this can make her. I do not like for Vida to be unhappy, so Vida and me, we talk it over. We decide you will marry Vida.
Thank you, darling. You're sweet.
There's nothing, Vida. You know how I will do anything to make you happy, anything.
All right, now how about doing something to make me a little happy, huh?
But I give you Vida.
Yeah, well, I pass.
You refuse?
Oh, Pete, you don't mean that.
You have made Vida cry. I do not like to see Vida cry. Tell her you do not mean that.
Goodbye, friend. I got a number to do at 4:17, and it ain't Here Comes the Bride.
Yeah. Pick him up.
On your feet.
You will ask Vida to be your wife.
What's the next best offer?
It's don't hurt him.
I won't.
All right, Itch. I think Mr. Kelly wants to say something.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Huh?
Who am I?
Huh?
You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Whiskey. Put him in that chair.
Come on, boy.
Hold his head back. All right, he is fine now.
Yeah. All I need is a few kind words.
I will give them to you. Just repeat after me. Vida, I love you.
Vida, I love you.
Mean it.
Vida, I love you.
Oh, Pete.
Will you marry me?
Will you marry me?
Oh, darling, of course I will.
Congratulations. We drink to it. To the happy bride and groom. Long life.
Long life.
Long life.
Yeah.
Now, here's how. Tomorrow afternoon, you and Vida will marry in City Hall. Itch will be best man. Then you go on a nice long honeymoon, drive to Canada in my Hispano, which I give Vida for a wedding present.
Look, I got a job here in town, 417 Cherry.
Go back to that crib. Tell the boss you quit. Tear up your cornet.
I'm loaded, Pete.
Loaded.
All right. Here's a pound of 50s. Tomorrow morning, you buy some clean clothes, top to bottom, inside and out. You will meet Vida at City Hall, 2 o'clock. Here's a key to the Hispano. Take it. Now kiss Vida good night.
Yeah.
Good night, Angel. I'll be the happiest bride in the world.
Sure.
And you'll be the happiest bridegroom.
Yeah, or the saddest stiff. Well, I left the office inside the spin of a top. The Hispano stood by the curb, sleek and calm, just like nothing had happened. Nothing at all. Well, I pointed for the 12th Street Bridge, made the other side of the river, and set a course down Boulder Road for Fat Annie's place. Oh, I tried to imagine life with Vita Brand. And then I thought of 6 painless ways of committing suicide. And I began to feel better. Fat Annie's place was doing a fair business for the lull hours. Maggie Jackson was standing back by the piano. I groped my way to the bar, ordered a bromo and ammonia, and listened.
All right, for the wealthy gentleman from Detroit. He needs me. All right, Ray.
He needs me. He doesn't know it, but he needs me. And so no matter where he goes, though he doesn't care, he knows I'm there. He needs me. I gotta follow where he leads me, or else he'll never know that I need him. Not as he needs me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulate me, Maggie.
Congratulations. What for?
Let's get back here. I want you to be the first to know. In here.
Pete, who worked you over?
You ever hear of a nail named Vita Brand?
Vita? Why, she don't weigh hardly enough to beat the white of an egg.
What do you know about her, Maggie?
Nothing much for sure. Only she's Bacalides' package, and that makes her a package nobody tampers with. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody but me.
Not if you love life, you don't.
I gotta.
Who says?
Bacalides says.
Petey, you all right?
Till tomorrow at 2 o'clock, yeah.
What's then?
Then's the wedding.
Who?
Mine and Vita Brand.
Petey, you've gone simple for sure. You know what Bacalides will do to you?
Look, Maggie, I just left Bacalides and Vita.
He catch you with her?
Look, that way I'm healthy. If he catches me without her, I'm dead in my socks.
Petey, you're taking those risks too fast. Slow it down a little. Bacalides, he's just crazy about that woman. Remember Albino Artie? He once looked at Vita like Bacalides didn't buy it. That was 6 or 7 weeks ago. You seen Albino Artie for the past 6 or 7 weeks? No, nobody has.
Well, hear this. Bacalides orders me to marry Vita at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Now square it for me. Why?
And Vita, what does she say about this?
Only that she loves me.
She tell that to Bacalides?
Right to his platinum teeth.
I'm getting that feeling, Petey, like my grandmother used to get.
And what's it tell you?
That Vita's preparing herself to be a bride and a widow both in the same day.
Yeah. Well, I better move.
You do that, Pete. Fast and far.
So long, Maggie. I will.
And if I were you, I wouldn't stop moving till I heard him speaking foreign languages.
Well, marry Vita and I'm a dead bridegroom. Don't marry Vita, I'm a dead bachelor. Well, I decided to try to be a live fugitive. I raced the Hispano back across the river, pulled up sharp in front of 417 Cherry. The brakes never made a sound. Lupo was pounding the cash register with both fists. He threw the usual glare at me as I pushed through to the bandstand. Hold it down, huh? Hold it down. Let's do this one real fine, for me. It's my last time around.
See?
Yeah, Red.
You being pushed out?
Yeah, it's that or carried out. All right. Let's do Singing the Blues, huh? Everybody ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. That'll do. Now, look, boys. I'm not going to be around for a while. A little business I got to take care of. Well, you'll hear from me, so just keep at it right here until... Red?
Yeah, Pete?
In the alley, huh? Look, Red, I'm in a jam.
What can I do to help, Pete?
Thanks, but nothing. I got to keep moving. Maybe cool off in a couple of weeks. Maybe not. Meantime, try to keep the boys together, huh?
Sure.
Well. So long, Red. Take care of yourself, huh?
Pete, need anything? A couple of bucks, Erskine, anything?
No, I'm fine. I'll see you. Wasn't easy. I was going to miss the boys. I missed Red already. No, it wasn't easy. But there was only one exit. I drove around to the rooming house, raced up the stairs. All I had to take was a clean shirt, my other suit, and my book of arrangements. I'd hightail it east, just keep rolling till I ran out of road. That was the plan, until I got to my room. She was stretched across my bed, and she looked right at me as I came in. And there she was, on my bed, looking right at me, but I was all alone. Now, Vita would never be anybody's widow. She was too dead to say I do. The stocking from her left leg was where no girl's stocking ought to be, knotted tightly around her throat. Well, I tiptoed back to the door, as though she was a light sleeper. I closed the door very gently behind me, and then I raced down the 3 flights into the street, into the Hispano, and into high speed. There was no lambing out of this one. You just don't hit the road in a car belonging to the stiff you leave behind. For such violations, the law is strict. Also, Bacalides. Well, I pulled up hard in front of Sour Sammy's joint. This time, the brakes cried. Barney Ricketts was sitting at his usual table in his usual state, boiled and loud. Barney's the only ex-bootlegger in the country who went broke in 1922. He says he did that to aggravate a couple of prohibition agents he hated. Well, Barney saw me come in and waved me over to his table.
Ah, Pete Kelly. Welcome, Petey, and have a drink.
Look, Barney, I'm up to my eyes.
Nonsense, Petey. You haven't even opened them yet. Ah, here we are. A drink for you and a drink for me.
Now, listen, Barney, I'm in trouble.
Petey, I have suddenly become oppressed by the state of the world. Well, it's my own fault, Petey, my own fault. I make it a rule never to look at the public prints. But tonight, well, just listen to these few choice items.
Now, look, Barney, right now I'm a moving target for Bacalides' gun.
Last night's edition of the Star. Look here, Petey, September 8, 1923. Girl forced to leap from stranger's automobile. But let us remember, Petey, that the only girls who leap from strangers' automobiles are those who climb into them. And here, look here.
All right, Barney.
California politicians say they are responsible for President Calvin Coolidge's success. Probably insist, Petey, that it's in honor of their state that he's called Cal. And this, Petey...
Barney, look, there's a dead girl in my room.
German Marx quoted at 28 cents per million. So you see, Petey, even a German millionaire is pushed hard to feel like 30 cents.
Now, look, Vita Brand, Bacalides' girl, she's dead, Barney, in my room.
Well, now, that's most careless of you, Petey.
If I run, it's the law, Barney. If I stand still, it's Bacalides.
How did you get mixed up with Vita Brand and Bacalides?
I don't know. I'm still in last week's fog. She wanted to marry me. Bacalides said I would or else. Why, Barney? Why if he torched for her?
Very simple problem in human relationships, Petey. Tonight, the word got out that Muggsy Brand was sprung.
Who's Muggsy Brand?
Vita's father. He was sent up last year. Vita's his whole life. He tried to guard her like Lupo guards his cash register. He hates Bacalides, and if he learned that he and Vita...
Yeah, now it's coming into focus.
Sometimes, Petey, you're dull-witted. Dull-witted, but stupid.
So Bacalides and Vita rigged it to disarm her old man. She marries me, takes the heat off Bacalides.
Splendid, Petey, splendid.
And her old man winds up throwing the knife at me. All I got to do now is explain Vita's body in my room to Muggsy Brand.
Precisely what Bacalides expects you to face.
All right. Do the rest of it together for me, will you?
Bacalides is married. He could never square himself with Vita. He got in deeper than he wanted to. He couldn't dump her because of Muggsy coming out. So he ties her onto you, gets her up to your room, leaves her dead on your bed.
How do I back out of this one, Barney?
Do you know where to reach Bacalides?
Yeah, at the Grundy Bank.
His dice game?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, go there. See Bacalides, lay it on the line for him. All the way, just like we talked it here.
Well, he'll cut me down.
He might.
How much edge do I have?
Not quite enough to shave with.
But maybe just enough to cut my throat, huh?
It's your only chance, Pete. You're in the middle of a 3-way push. The law, Bacalides, Muggsy Brand.
All right, Barney. I'm counting on you on the outside.
Don't worry, Petey. I'll be there with bells on.
Yeah, make sure they don't toll for me. Well, I went back to the Grundy Bank and Savings. I had no trouble getting in. The game was just heating up. I stalled around the dark edges of the table for a minute and laid a few bucks on the field. Upstairs, the light was on in the office. The boy with the big piece was still sitting at the window. I could see the head and shoulders of Bacalides. He was still counting money. I started slowly up the stairs, went into the room without knocking. The muscle man swung sharp, pointing the heater at my stomach. Bacalides, fast for a big man, flung out a hand and knocked the gun out of line.
Hold it. Next time knock, or you pick up a lot of weight.
Yeah, or a silk stocking around my neck?
No, for you a knife. From the fingers of the best shiv man in the country.
Muggsy Brand?
Don't try to run, Kelly. He likes a moving target. Just go to him. Tell him his daughter is in your bed, a stocking around her throat. Tell him you don't understand any of it. He will be very sympathetic.
Well, that's nice, Mr. Bacalides. You set it up real nice.
Smart, huh?
Sure. You persuade Vita to buzz it around that I'm number one. Everything fixed for her father's ears. Even get her to help you push her across by going up to my room.
You tell a good story, friend. Maybe too good.
Oh, put that rod down, Bacalides, before you drop it and break your toe.
Maxie, take him downstairs. Come back alone.
Petey, look out. Get down. Muggsy.
Barney, you all right?
Shell shock.
Muggsy Brand?
Yes, Pete. I knew where he was. All he heard was Bacalides.
Kelly.
Yeah, Muggsy.
Bacalides. I got him?
He was between the guns. Not much left of him. Or his trigger man.
Or me. Now listen. You might poke. Money. Take it. You might get a good burial.
Easy, Muggsy, huh?
She was only a kid. Maybe if she met a guy like... He's gone, Pete.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Pete? A guy like who?
Who knows, Barney? Who knows?
Pete Kelly's Blues, starring Jack Webb, with story by Joe Eisinger and music by Dick Cathcart. Scoring by Matty Matlock. The music of Pete Kelly's Big Seven and Maggie Jackson is now available on phonograph records.
The proceeding was transcribed. It's the Silver Jubilee on NBC. There's another thrilling adventure in store for you tonight with Les Damon as the hard-hitting adventurer known as the Falcon. Later, hear the best in music, the tunes which America is singing. Yes, we bring you a sparkling new program devoted to the best in popular music and presided over by well-known musical director Meredith Wilson. Tonight, make a listening reminder to hear Meredith Wilson's Music Room. Les Damon as the Falcon, tonight on NBC.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes. Best of all, king-size cigarettes brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A 40-year-old mother is found murdered in the bedroom of her home. The body bears the marks of a savage attack with a knife. The killer showed no mercy. Your job? Get him. See the difference. Taste the difference.
Smoke the difference.
You'll find that in Fatima, the difference is quality. Quality that gives you extra mildness. A much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Yes, in king-size Fatima, you get all the advantages of extra length plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Remember, thousands of Americans are switching to Fatima. Insist on Fatima quality. So why wait? Switch to Fatima today. Look for the sunny yellow pack. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, February 18th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 10:43 a.m. when we got to Woodview High School, the vice principal's office.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes?
I'd like to see the vice principal, please. I believe her name is Harmon. Miss Harmon?
I'm Miss Harmon. What is it you wanted?
Police officers, ma'am. Here's our identification.
Oh, yes.
This is my partner, Sergeant Romero. My name's Friday.
I see. How do you do?
Well, we'd like to talk to one of your girl students, Miss Harmon, Roberta Dixon. Understand she's registered here?
Roberta Dixon. Oh, yes, I believe I know her.
Would you mind calling her out of class, please? We'd like to talk to her.
Well, we generally don't like to do that, officer, not unless it's absolutely necessary.
It's pretty important, ma'am. We've got a message for the girl.
I see. Couldn't it wait until after school hours?
I'm afraid not, Miss Harmon. It's about the girl's mother, and it's pretty serious.
Oh, has she been taken ill, is that it?
No, ma'am. She's been murdered. 16-year-old Roberta Dixon, the daughter of the murdered woman, was called out of her classroom and brought downstairs to the office of Miss Harmon, the girl's vice principal. She was a thin, dark-haired girl in sweater and skirt. With the help of Miss Harmon, whom the girl seemed to know fairly well, Ben and I broke the news of her mother's death as gently as we could. At first, the 16-year-old girl seemed to take the shock with some composure, but suddenly she broke down weeping and became hysterical. When she recovered sufficiently, the girl agreed to come downtown with us to answer a few routine questions. Miss Harmon agreed to accompany her. 11:05 a.m. We checked back in at the office. Ben and I completed the 311 dead body report while Miss Harmon and the daughter of the murdered woman waited in the adjoining room.
What was that time discovered, Joe? You got a note on it there?
Yeah, let me look. 8:55 a.m.
Oh, thanks. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Oh, hi, George. How you doing?
I can't complain. Got some checking out to do. I wonder if you'd help me.
Well, I'll give it a try. Ben, you know George DeCoven, don't you? Reporter from the Daily News?
Oh, yeah, sure. Seen him around. Hi.
Say, I understand you two are working on that knife murder out on Pico, the dead woman they found this morning?
Yeah, that's right.
A few things I'd like to check with you before I do the story. The victim's name was Florence Eleanor Dixon, is that right?
That's right, George, yeah.
A couple more things here. Stop me if I got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The victim was 40 years old, divorced, one child, daughter 16. Body was discovered 9 o'clock this morning by a next-door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the neighbor's name is Esther Fenwick.
No, I think the name's Fenmore, George.
Oh, thanks. Fenmore. I understand you haven't got much to go on. No murder weapons, no other leads.
No, not much of anything so far. We just started on this thing.
How about the husband of the dead woman? You get anything there?
Well, he divorced Mrs. Dixon 2 years ago. There's no line on him yet. We're still checking him out. We might have some word later on in the day for him.
You any other possible suspects in mind, or do you want to say?
No, I don't think so. It's still wide open.
How about a motive? That been established yet?
Could have been one of a dozen things. We're going to have to do some digging before we can say definitely.
It doesn't look like it was a robbery motive. Well, that's about all we can tell you for sure, George.
See, I was over at the morgue when they brought the body in. It's the worst I've seen in a long time. Brutal.
It's pretty bad.
I suppose there's nothing from the crime lab yet.
No. I think they just got back from the house a few minutes ago. If you want to drop by later on this afternoon, we might have something new for you.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Oh, say, I saw you bringing the girl in a few minutes ago, victim's daughter. I'd like to get a couple of pictures of her.
Well, how about making it a little later, huh, George? Kid's still upset. Pretty much of a shock for you, can understand.
Okay, I'll be waiting out in the hall with the photographer.
Okay.
You give me a call, huh? Just a couple of shots. It won't take a minute.
You betcha, George. We'll call you.
Okay.
You about finished with that report, Ben?
Yeah, all done. Guess we better talk to the girl, huh?
Yeah, all right. The morgue say when they're going to post the body?
Sometime today. We ought to have the results first thing tomorrow morning. Miss Harmon?
I think she's a lot better now, Sergeant. Roberta, the officers would like to talk to you a few minutes if you feel up to it.
All right. Who killed my mother? Have you found out?
Not yet, Roberta, and we think you might be able to help us, so.
It's so hard to believe. I just saw her this morning. She was all right then.
Well, you try to take it easy, Roberta. We'll make it as brief as possible. Now, you and your mother are the only people living at your house, no one else?
No, me and my mother, that's all. My father used to live with us. He doesn't anymore.
How long has it been since your father left?
I'm not sure. About 5 years, I think. He and Mama didn't get along. They got divorced.
Mm-hmm. Do you see your father at all anymore? I mean, does he ever come to your house to visit?
He did once. It was about a year ago, I think. Wasn't much good. He and my mother argued all the time he was there, and he left. He hasn't been back since.
Has he been in contact at all with your mother? Do you know? Does he write her letters, call her on the phone?
No. The last time was when he came to our house. I haven't heard anything about him since. I don't even know where he is. I don't care, I guess. I hardly even knew him.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to have you think about this carefully now, Roberta. Did your mother have any close friends who used to come to the house quite a bit?
Yes, 2 or 3 women friends of hers at work.
Any men friends?
No. Mama didn't have any men friends. She didn't like men. She said they were all no good. She used to tell me that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any relatives we can contact?
I don't know about my father's side. My mother has a brother and sister in West Virginia. Dresses at home. What am I going to do? Why would anybody kill my mother?
All right, now you try to take it easy, Roberta. Everything's going to work out all right. Look, now, do you think you can give us a list of most of the people your mother knew, friends around the neighborhood, the people she knew at her work?
Yes, I think so. Most of them are in her address book. I think I know where it is.
All right, fine.
Just before you left for school this morning, Roberta, was there anyone in the house besides you and your mother?
No, just the 2 of us.
Was your mother expecting anyone?
Not that I know of.
Your mother was all right, was she? There didn't seem to be anything bothering her?
No. She acted all right to me, just like any other morning. We got up at 6:45. I got dressed. Mama took a shower. I fixed breakfast. We ate, and then I left for school.
About what time was that, Roberta?
A little before 8:30, usual time. I have my first class at 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
When I left Mama, she was just finishing her breakfast. I said goodbye. It was the last time we saw her. Can we talk after a while, please? Maybe I'll feel better. Can't talk now.
Oh, sure, that's all right. Would you like to rest here?
I don't know why I'm crying. It's stupid. I don't care anyway. No reason to cry.
You better get some rest, youngster.
No reason. It doesn't make sense crying about Mama.
How's that?
I'm not sorry. I'm glad she's dead.
Early that afternoon, after she'd rested sufficiently and recovered herself, we had another interview with Roberta Dixon, the teenage daughter of the murdered woman. Miss Harmon, the vice principal, went back to the school, and a policewoman was called in to be present during the interrogation. Again, she insisted that she wasn't at all sorry that her mother was dead. She said that privately she didn't have any love for either one of her parents, least of all her mother. She told the usual story of a broken home, a father who showed little interest in his daughter or providing a good home for her, a strict, overbearing mother who apparently made no effort to understand the girl. We continued to interview Roberta Dixon, but outside of what she'd already told us, she showed no further knowledge of the murder. Pending action by the court, we had the girl placed in the custody of the juvenile authorities. 3:10 p.m., Ben and I drove back to the murder house on South Pico Boulevard, where we met police reporter George DeCoven. Together with Brian and Ortiz, we continued our preliminary investigation. We rechecked the immediate area of the Dixon home and talked again with the neighbors. We failed to come up with anything new. 4:25 p.m., along with the reporter, George DeCoven, Ben and I went back to the murder house.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't seem to jive that time of morning. It's possible, though.
What's that, Joey?
Prowler. Might have been it. You think so?
No, we've already run that down.
Yeah?
We checked communications. There's no recent complaints about anybody prowling the neighborhood. We talked to the neighbors, too. No indication of it. No sign anybody tried to break in here, either.
Got me. I can't figure.
And Dixon woman sure kept to herself. Lived here 11 years, and we can't dig up more than half a dozen neighbors who really knew her.
Yeah, business with her daughter, too. It sure stacks up pretty strange. Didn't the crime wave crew find anything this morning, Joe?
No, nothing great. A jacket, a pair of shoes with a few stains on them. Took them in to run a benzodine test. That's about the size of it.
Sure a slow start.
Yeah. I expected a little more from the neighbors.
So did I.
You know, it'd be different if the thing happened in the middle of the night. According to the daughter, it must have happened at least after 8:30 this morning. Now, if the killer got in the house after that, you'd think somebody on the block would have noticed it. Neighbors close by on either side.
How about checking out in the yard and back? I didn't get too good a look around this morning.
Well, there's nothing more to cover in here. Crime lab's been all over.
And how about where this Mrs. Dixon worked, Joe? Anybody tag base there?
Yeah, Tommy Bryan did. Hotel down on South Grand. She worked in the linen room. A couple people she knew there, they couldn't tell him anything.
How about some of her other friends?
No, nothing yet. We're still checking.
Go ahead, Joe. Thanks.
Oh, it's a big backyard. Kept it nice, didn't it?
You want to check alongside here, Ben, with the house? I'll give the back of the yard a look. Huh?
Yeah, okay. Well,
Good-sized garage, huh? Pretty hard to find them like that anymore.
Pretty good-sized lot, too. She sure must have worked at keeping it up. There's not a weed on the place, is there?
Yeah. More you can say for the neighbors.
Have a look, George, down here.
Huh?
Flower bed here. 2 little mounds of dirt. You see them?
Oh, yeah.
The ground looks like it's been recently turned, wouldn't you say?
Fairly recent. Wonder what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah. Oh, small wooden crosses pressed down in each one of the mounds.
Queer one, huh? Looks like a couple of small graves, doesn't it?
You want to reach me that stick over there, George?
Oh, yeah. Here you go.
Thank you. Have a look here.
Nice. Nothing on my end. How are you doing? What's this?
Oh, we're not sure ourselves. Wait a minute. Uh-huh.
What is it?
Wait a minute. Yeah, all right. There you are.
A bird. Little canary. How about that?
Hasn't been buried long. Look here. Look at the breast.
What do you think, a knife?
Could be. Sharp instrument of some kind. Just a minute. I'm going to try this other mound here.
Wait a minute, Joe. Yeah. It's another one. Yellow canary, same thing. Look at the breast.
Neither one's been buried for more than a few days.
Funny one. The Dixons raise canaries, you know?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It sure doesn't make any sense to me. If they didn't want the birds, you'd think they'd give them away. Why go slaughter them like this?
Yeah, well, it works both ways. Deep wounds in the chest. Some kind of sharp weapon.
Yeah.
The Dixon woman. She died the same way. 4:35 p.m. We took the 2 canaries, wrapped them in paper, and brought them downtown to Lieutenant Lee Jones at the crime lab to be processed. He was still running tests on the stained jacket and pair of shoes which had been found in the house among the dead woman's personal effects. 5:15 p.m. We checked with the office, and then we drove over to Juvenile Hall to see Roberta Dixon. Apparently, she was in a much better frame of mind.
I talked to Miss Harmon this afternoon, our vice principal. She wants me to come and stay with her for a while. Hope she can arrange it. It sure be nice.
Mm-hmm. We were back at your house this afternoon, Roberta. We found something we'd like to ask you about.
What's that?
Well, do you keep any pets in your house? I mean, either you or your mother?
Well, no, not usually. Why?
Well, how do you mean, not usually?
Well, we didn't up until a week ago. Mama didn't like animals. She didn't want them around.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got these 2 canaries. I bought them with my own money. I work after school, you know.
I see.
I bought a cage for them, too. My mother was mad when I brought them home. She didn't like any kind of animals. She kept preaching at me. She finally made me get rid of them.
How'd you do that, Roberta?
I got a knife and I killed them.
See the difference. Taste the difference.
Smoke the difference.
You'll find that in Fatima, the difference is quality. Quality that gives you extra mildness. A much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Yes, in king-size Fatima, you get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Remember, thousands of Americans are switching to Fatima. Insist on Fatima quality. So why wait? Switch to Fatima today. Look for the sunny yellow pack. Buy Fatima. Best of all king-size cigarettes.
Remember, thousands and thousands of Americans are switching to king-size Fatima, insisting on Fatima quality.
So compare Fatima yourself. When you see the difference, taste the difference, smoke that difference, you'll switch to Fatima.
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Look for the sunny yellow pack. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
February 18th, the Dixon girl was released to the custody of Miss Harmon pending action by the juvenile court, 9 p.m. Ben and I double-checked with Lieutenant Lee Jones at the crime lab. He showed us the school jacket and a pair of shoes, which had been found in a closet in the home of the murdered woman, Mrs. Florence Dixon. Apparently, the clothing belonged to the daughter, Roberta. There were several dark stains on each of the articles. They'd been checked thoroughly. First, a benzodine test to determine if they were blood stains, then a biological precipitant test to classify them further. There wasn't any doubt in Lee's mind that the stains were recent, but they were made by human blood. The same blood type as that of the murdered woman. It was a little hard to believe, but the evidence on hand pointed to only one prime suspect, 16-year-old Roberta Dixon. Early the following morning, we checked back in at the office. Ben went across the street to see if the coroner's autopsy report was ready. 8:05 a.m. I checked by communications. They had a report on the tracer we'd gotten out on the murder victim's husband, a Charles Dixon. I picked it up and headed back to the office.
Morning, Joe.
Oh, hi, George. You get the message I left for you? I put it on your desk over in the press room.
Yeah, I got it, thanks. How's it look this morning? Anything new?
Well, this here is an answer on that tracer we got out on Mrs. Dixon's husband. He's been living up north for the past year, San Francisco.
That's so? Still up there?
No, not according to this. He died 6 months ago, heart attack.
What do you figure?
Well, there's not much choice.
Joe. Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi.
Autopsy report. Coroner just got it out.
What's the word?
It doesn't jibe with the story we got. The coroner places the time of death close to 7:30 a.m. yesterday. Cause of death, what we figured, chest wound. Some kind of a sharp weapon. There's something else. According to the girl, she had breakfast with her mother before she left for school. Coroner says Miss Dixon hadn't eaten for at least 12 hours before she died.
What was that time of death, Ben?
7:30 a.m., no later.
Well, I guess we better move on it, huh?
Yeah.
What's the angle?
Well, the daughter, she says she didn't leave the house until 8:30. Along with the policewoman, Ben and I drove out to the home of the high school vice principal, Miss Harmon, where the suspect, Roberta Dixon, was staying. There was no one there. We checked at the high school. Miss Harmon told us that she'd brought Roberta to school that morning. She thought that if the girl attended classes, it'd help keep her mind off her troubles. Miss Harmon checked the classroom the Dixon girl was supposed to be in, but she wasn't there. Her teachers were contacted. None of them had seen her that morning. 9:40 a.m., we drove over to the Dixon home. We found Roberta in the back bedroom. She was sitting calmly at a sewing machine, stitching ruffles on a dress. In one corner of the room, there was an empty bird cage.
I'm pretty busy right now. I've got this sewing to do. What do you want to talk to me about?
We got a few more questions for you, Roberta. It's about your mother.
She's dead, isn't she? Do we have to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm afraid we do.
Why do we? Just told me she was dead. There's no sense in talking about dead people. Anyway, I've got this sewing to do. I have to get it finished. There. Isn't that pretty? These ruffles go all the way around the bottom of the skirt. Here, like this. Beautiful color, brown. You like it?
You want to tell us what happened, Roberta, yesterday morning?
Yesterday, I already told you, didn't I?
We don't think you were telling the truth. You want to go over it again for us?
Well, I've got this sewing to do. You can see that, can't you? 3 more rows of ruffles go on. Right here. I have to get it finished. It takes time, you know.
I think you better let the sewing go, Roberta.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that. I have to get it finished.
Well, I'm afraid this is a little more important. I think you realize that.
I went over the whole thing for you already. I told you everything.
Wasn't the truth. You know that, Roberta.
Why do you say that?
Was it the truth?
What do you expect me to say?
That's up to you.
You think I lied, don't you? That's stupid. I haven't got any reason to lie.
Did you kill her, Roberta?
What?
Did you kill your mother?
I told you everything already. That's just the way it was. Mama and I got up and had breakfast, and I went to school, that's all. I don't have any reason to lie. Oh, excuse me. Hello? Oh, hi, Fran. Yeah, I'm working on it now. It's going to be beautiful. What? Oh, no, that's all right, sure. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm all right. Look, can you call me back later? Yeah, I'll be here. Okay, honey, bye. I'm sorry, officers. My girlfriend, Fran. She's a good friend of mine. She can vouch for me. She'll tell you I'm not a liar.
Do you own a pair of brown and white saddle Oxfords, Roberta?
No, why?
How about a school jacket? Green plaid?
No. I don't like green. Brown's my favorite color.
The green plaid jacket was found in the house here. It was stuffed back in the hall closet. It had your name stenciled on it.
Oh, yeah. That old thing. I don't even wear it anymore. Look at that. Won't it be pretty when I get it finished?
That jacket of yours, Roberta, they found blood stains on it. On the shoes, too. Roberta?
I already told you the shoes aren't mine.
The jacket is.
Why do you keep calling me a liar? Can't you believe me for once? Isn't it bad enough the way things are?
No, the last time we talked to you, you said you left the house at 8:30 yesterday morning. Is that right?
Yes, it was around 8:30.
Well, we got the report on your mother this morning, Roberta. The coroner says she died at 7:30, no later.
That's stupid. How could he tell anyway?
He can tell.
He's a liar.
Something else, Roberta. You told us you and your mother got up and you had breakfast together.
Yeah, we had breakfast together. Why are you picking on me?
You couldn't have had breakfast together. At the time she died, your mother hadn't eaten anything for 12 hours.
I guess you're going to say they can tell that, too.
That's right. You want to tell us what really happened now?
Now, tell us the truth, Roberta. It's going to work out a lot easier.
These are some of the toys I had when I was little. I saved almost all of them. My best doll. I had a lot of dolls. I loved them. Guess I still do. I love them more than her.
You mean your mother?
I wasn't fooling. I don't care if she's dead. She didn't mean anything to me. She never did mean anything. These are more of my dolls here. I dressed them all myself, every one of them.
What was the matter, Roberta, between you and your mother, I mean?
I don't know. I guess she just didn't mean anything. Not like anybody else's mother. She didn't mean anything at all. Same as my father. We were in the same house, that's all. Nobody cared for anybody else. It wasn't anything but fighting, or just not saying anything at all. I'm glad she's dead.
You killed her? Is that what you want to say?
Here's a little piano I had. I got one Christmas, I think. Look, still plays.
You want to tell us from the beginning?
It took a long time. I thought about it a lot. A week ago, I made up my mind. It's time to kill her. She was getting worse. I couldn't do anything. I was always wrong. Couldn't go out, couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. She started the same way yesterday morning. I got the knife from the kitchen. I went in and she was sitting on the bed, putting her stockings on. I don't think she knew what happened. It didn't take long.
Were you having an argument with her? Is that what started it?
We argued every morning. I got so tired of it. She had an awful voice. Finally made up my mind. Planned it all out. I even practiced it. You know the 2 canaries I had?
Yeah.
I didn't buy them because I wanted them. They got to be cute, though. I felt bad about killing them.
Why'd you kill them, Roberta?
Practice. Decided to use a knife. I wasn't sure I knew how to do it, though, so I got the canaries. One day after school, I killed them. It gave me more confidence. I knew I could do it after that. Poor little things. I guess I shouldn't have killed them.
That knife you killed your mother with, Roberta, you want to show us where it is?
All right, I'll show you. I don't think you ever could have found it. It's up in the attic. Special place I hide things. Say, would you like some coffee or Coke or something?
No, thanks. Just one more thing. Why'd you leave school this morning? I mean, going off without telling anybody.
I wanted to come back here. I felt like it. I wanted to come back to my room. It's the only place I really like to be. I've lived in this house all my life. And this has always been my room. Toys I had. My dolls. Everything's here. Everything I have. My books. Oh, my dolls.
Yeah. I think we better be going, Roberta. We'll have to take you downtown.
Yes, all right. I'll get my coat. Then I'll show you where the knife is.
All right.
Officers, could I ask you one favor?
What's that?
It probably sounds silly. It'll help a lot, though. This doll here,
Yeah.
could I take it with me? Just this one. Make me feel a lot better. Please, do you think I could?
Yeah, sure. Bring it along if you like.
Thank you. You probably think I don't care for anything but my dolls. There's one thing, though, I want to tell you.
What's that?
I'm sorry now, I really am. I shouldn't have done it. I know it was wrong.
You do?
Yes, I'm sorry I killed the canaries.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On May 6th, the hearing was held in Juvenile Court, Department 38, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that hearing.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, I'd like to take just a moment this evening to tell you about Fatima's Christmas gift carton. When you visit your dealer, take a real good look at it. I think you'll agree with me that it's the smartest of all Christmas cartons, just as it should be, because Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. This Christmas season, I'm buying Fatimas for all my friends, and I hope you will, too. Compare Fatima. See the difference. Taste the difference, and then smoke that difference. Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
At the hearing in Juvenile Court, Roberta Evelyn Dixon was found unfit to be handled as a juvenile and was certified to Superior Court as an adult. There, she was found to be criminally insane by 3 psychiatrists appointed by the state. She is now confined to a state mental institution where she is undergoing treatment. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Barton Yarborough is Sergeant Ben Romero. Also heard was Joyce McCluskey. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Counter Spy fights international intrigue next on NBC.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes. Best of all king-size cigarettes brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A 22-year-old girl has been abducted. Her family receives an anonymous message. The abductor demands $30,000 for the safe return of the girl. Your job? Get him. See the difference.
Taste the difference.
Smoke the difference. You'll find that in Fatima, the difference is quality. Quality that gives you extra mildness. A much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Yes, in king-size Fatima, you get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Fatima, Best of all, king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarettes you're now smoking.
Remember, thousands of Americans are switching to Fatima, insisting on Fatima quality. So why wait? Switch to Fatima today. Look for the bright, sunny yellow pack. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, October 18th. It was cloudy in Los Angeles. We were working the early morning watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the stats office, and it was 3:26 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide. Hi, Brian.
Hi. Got those mug shots you wanted, Joe. Here you go.
Oh, thank you. The captain leave yet?
They're waiting for me in the garage. You call Ben?
I'll go into right now, yeah.
Okay. I guess I better hustle it. See you out there, huh?
Right, Brian. I'm sorry to wake you, Ben. This is Joe. How you feeling?
Oh, hi, Joe. What time is it?
3:30 a.m. How's the sore throat?
Oh, it's a lot better. Want to be back to work tomorrow.
Well, we need you now, Ben. You want to be ready in about 20 minutes? I'll pick you up.
20 minutes? Okay, what's the matter?
Man by the name of Martin Sullivan, official down at the Third National Bank.
Hey, what about it?
He's got a 22-year-old daughter, or he had one.
Huh?
She's gone. Less than 14 hours before, at 1 o'clock the previous afternoon, Judith Sullivan was last seen driving off in a car with a man who'd represented himself as a friend of her father's. At 11 o'clock that night, the Sullivan family received an anonymous letter demanding $30,000 for the safe return of the girl. It had been the only contact made thus far by the abductor. As soon as we got word of what had happened from the girl's father, a broadcast and an APB had been gotten out. The entire force throughout the city had been alerted. 3:44 a.m. I pulled up in front of Ben's house.
Well, good morning.
Hi.
You made good time.
Where are we headed? The Sullivan home out on Castro Boulevard. Thad Brown's out there now with Brian.
Any leads to go on?
No, not so far. The girl disappeared a little before 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Note from the abductor came through last night. They're asking $30,000.
Oh, I don't get it. Sullivan hasn't got that kind of money.
Yeah, I know that. Poor guy's almost out of his mind. Mrs. Sullivan, too, they're all broken up.
He filled me in. How'd it happen?
Well, the girl was taken from a business school that she goes to. Man had her called out of class. He told her father was sick. Said he was a friend of the family.
How about the teachers? What was their story?
Well, they said the girl didn't want to go with the man at first, but he finally talked her into it, kept telling her father was dying.
Yeah, lousy thing. Did he use the car?
Yeah, blue sedan. That's all we know. Witnesses didn't get the make or the license number.
Any description on the man?
Yeah, they say about 5'9", 160, brown suit and dark hair.
Is that all?
That's it. Here's a copy of the letter that the Sullivans got. You can read it. It's the usual.
All right, thanks. I have your daughter, Judy. Get $30,000 quick if you want her back alive. Don't call police or I'll kill her. Contact you later, signed The Wolf. Who's he kidding?
I don't know. I could think of a better name. Here we are.
Who's got the original note, Joe?
From Crime Lab. They're checking it for prints and handwriting.
Hi, Joe Romero. In the living room. Thank you, Tom.
That's the way I see it, Mr. Sullivan. You understand exactly what you have to do now?
Yes, I'll do as you say.
All right, sir. Here are the two men who helped you. Sergeant Friday and Romero, Central Homicide.
All right, Mr. Sullivan.
Reduced. Mr. Brown, are you sure about all this? I keep thinking he might get frightened. He might do something to her.
Believe me, Mr. Sullivan, it's the only way. I know how you must feel, but we can't do anything else.
All right. I want to see Mrs. Sullivan first. Will you excuse me? I'll be ready in a moment.
All right, fine.
What is it, Chief? Any development?
Back here, in the dining room.
Yeah?
That's it on the table. Second note from the guy.
When did it come?
Half an hour ago. The guy had it delivered by a special messenger, used a plain envelope. Messenger kid didn't know anything about it, doesn't remember what the guy looked like.
Let's see, Joe.
Yeah, I'll read it. It says, meet me in Elysian Park, 5 o'clock this morning near Balkan Drive. Come alone, bring 30,000. We'll return girl. Don't tell the cops. I'll kill her if you do. It's the same signature, Wolf.
Not much time, Chief. It's 4 a.m. now.
I know. What we'll have to do as he says. There's no other way.
Sullivan's going out there alone, is he?
You're going with him, you and Romero. You'll be hidden in the trunk of his car.
All right. Anything else? Any plan you want us to follow?
Get him, that's all.
4:15 a.m. Ben and I went out back to the garage where Mr. Sullivan's car was parked. We jammed ourselves into the trunk compartment, and Brian closed the door on us. The latch was rigged so that we could push open the door from the inside. A few minutes later, Mr. Sullivan came out, got in the car, and we drove off. At 3 minutes to 5, we pulled up at the designated meeting place up in Elysian Park. We waited. Nothing happened. 5 minutes past 5 a.m. Still nothing. Outside, it started to thunder.
Rain's starting, man. Windy. Joe? Do you hear it?
Yeah. A car coming up the road toward us, sounds like.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Coming over this way.
Yeah, sounds that way, doesn't it? Are you ready?
Right.
All right, easy. Coming back here. Watch it now.
Friday? Romero?
Chief, that you?
Yeah, come on out. Meeting's off.
Let him break. What's in my leg?
Mr. Sullivan, you want to drive back home? We'll contact you there.
Yes, sir. All right.
Come on. Let's get over to the car.
What's the story? Did he scare off?
The guy had no intention of following through with the meeting.
How come?
He told us. He phoned a couple of minutes before 5 a.m. We tried to trace the call. He wouldn't stay on the line long enough.
What do you have to say?
A couple of things. Number one, he wants more money. Number two, he knows we're working the case.
What was the reaction?
Claims he doesn't care. We'll never get him anyway.
Well, how's the thing stand now?
$50,000. He wants it in the next 12 hours.
More than 16 hours had passed since word of Judy Sullivan's abduction had been phoned into homicide. During that time, an APB containing the descriptions of the suspect, his car, and his victim had been dispatched to law enforcement agencies throughout the entire area. The same descriptions were being broadcast every hour. The Sullivan home had been placed under strict surveillance, and Mr. Sullivan instructed not to contact the suspect without the knowledge of the police. The girl's father had raised almost $10,000 in cash to buy him off, and the serial numbers on each one of the bills had been copied by a police stenographer and rechecked by a homicide officer. So far, the Wolf, as he called himself, had made 3 separate contacts, but he'd covered his tracks well. We knew he was somewhere in the city, 450 square miles of it. We knew we had to find him. 6:18 a.m. We checked back into homicide.
What's doing, Brian? Here's a copy of the letter, fellas. Special delivery. Came in about 25 minutes ago.
Let's see, Tom.
It's the same handwriting, it looks like.
Check the postmark. Joe must have mailed it right after he grabbed the girl.
Let me see. Stay away from Sullivan. If the girl's found dead, it's your fault. Stay away. Wolf.
Can't seem to make up his mind, huh?
They checking the original of this for prints, Tom?
Yeah, no word yet.
How about that second note? Anything on that?
Uh-huh. Stahl lifted a couple of prints, running them through R&I. So who's watching Sullivan House now?
Gomez and Thaxter. Chief's out there, too. He's still afraid the girl's father will try to make a deal with the guy.
He tried it yet?
No, not yet. Well, you couldn't blame him if he did. He's worried sick.
On guard? Homicide, Romero. Here, I try. How do you spell it? Okay, right. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Record Bureau. Those 2 prints all lifted from the letter. Run them through the single print file.
Tell you what?
They got to make.
The fingerprint that was lifted from the suspect's letter was identified as belonging to a Donald Alfred Kiefer, WMA, age 29, 5 feet 8 inches, 170 pounds, brown eyes, dark brown hair. He had one previous arrest for forgery in Los Angeles 10 months before. At the time of his arrest, Kiefer's occupation was listed as bank clerk at the Third National Bank. Well, I went down the hall to the Record Bureau to pull the crime report. Brian checked by latent prints to see if they'd gotten anything off the last note from the suspect. Ben went to check with John Meyer in handwriting. 7:23 a.m. Chief Thad Brown got back to the office. I showed him Kiefer's crime report.
All right, what's the rundown on it?
Well, at the time Kiefer pulled the forgery job at the bank, Mr. Sullivan was one of the vice presidents. He was the one that preferred charges against Kiefer, and he saw that he was prosecuted.
Mm-hmm. Where's this Kiefer now?
Well, let me check that. He was placed on probation on May 16th this year. He returned to his home in Omaha, Nebraska. That's 1380 Mackinac Avenue.
You call Omaha?
I got the call in now. Ben took an exemplar of Kiefer's handwriting from the package. Don Meyer's going over it now.
Chief? Hi. What about that last note? I've got the report right here.
How's it look?
Well, Stahl lifted some prints off it, brought them out with the iodine fume gun. They match with the first. There's something else.
What's that?
They examined the paper for watermarks and texture. Both notes are written on the same paper. Impressions show both pieces of paper from the same tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Check the density of the carbon in the pencil he used. Both specimens match. Same pencil.
Joe.
Oh, hi, Skipper.
Hi. Did you catch up with Don Meyer, Ben?
Yeah, he went over the handwriting. Looks pretty good.
What's the word?
It's as close as you can get. Here are the 2 exemplars. Mm-hmm. Francis crosses, double loops as L, open A's, pressure on the downstroke. Donald Kiefer, the wolf, same handwriting.
By noontime, Donald Kiefer's description had been broadcast throughout the entire area. Bulletins were dispatched to all departments, and a supplementary APB was gotten out. Special details were stationed at every post office in the city to watch for notes from the suspect that might come through the mail. The bus depots, railroad terminals, the airports, and all main roads leading out of the city were kept under strict surveillance. The entire Los Angeles area was broken down into single square-mile districts, and a house-to-house canvass was started. A squad of men were assigned to cover each square mile. Outlying towns and cities were requested to do the same. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, one of the greatest dragnet operations in the history of the city was underway. We were sure Donald Kiefer was somewhere inside. 5:12 p.m. We got the call back from the Omaha police.
That so? Mm-hmm. Again, please. What was that? 6 X-ray 419 Nebraska plate. Right. Fine, Lieutenant. Thanks. Bye.
They made the car?
That and a lot more. The Omaha cops are looking for Kiefer, too. They want him for a robbery there 2 months ago.
Uh-huh.
He used a stolen blue sedan in the robbery. 1939 model, Nebraska plate, 6 X-ray 419.
What about his family and friends? Have they been checked?
Yeah, they say Kiefer left Omaha about 6 weeks ago. I don't know where he was headed.
We better get that car description to communications, huh? APB and a radiogram?
Yeah, right. Friday, Romero?
Yeah.
What are you tied up with? Just got a call back from Omaha. Make on Kiefer in the car. Give it to me. You 2 get out to Sullivan House as fast as you can. See Harris out there.
Okay, what happened?
Mr. Sullivan, he's disappeared.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
Millions heard it, yet only 54 have written.
Starting on Dragnet over 2.5 months ago, on September 20th to be exact, Fatima made a special money-back offer to more than 10 million listeners. The results? Amazing.
Millions heard it, yet only 54 have written.
If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's famous offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos. If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before January 1st, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, thousands and thousands of Americans are switching to king-size Fatima, insisting on Fatima quality.
So compare Fatima yourself. When you see the difference, taste the difference, smoke that difference,
you'll switch to Fatima.
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Look for the bright sunny yellow pack. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Wednesday, October 19th, 5:48 p.m. Ben and I drove out to the Sullivan home, where we checked with Bert Harris, the man who'd been assigned to watch Mr. Sullivan. He told us that at about 3 o'clock that afternoon, the father of the missing girl had a phone call. He said he had to go down to the bank, and Harris went with him. While they were at the bank, Mr. Sullivan succeeded in decoying Harris with a fake telephone call. While Harris was answering the call, Sullivan disappeared.
Did Mr. Sullivan get any more money while he was at the bank, Bert?
Yeah, $5,000.
Did you get the serial numbers off the bills?
Uh-huh. Shouldn't have let him get out of my sight.
Yeah, forget it. Right now we got to find out where he's going to meet Kiefer.
Did you talk to Mrs. Sullivan about it, Bert?
Yeah, says she doesn't know anything about it.
Where's she now?
Back in the sitting room, lying down.
Well, let's try her again, huh? She might be able to help.
Okay, it's back this way.
What time you got, Joe?
It's 5 minutes past 6. I get it. Hello? How's that? Yeah, where are you? What? Oh, well, where are you? Where are you? All right, we'll be right out.
Yeah?
Mr. Sullivan, he met with Kiefer out in Laurel Canyon.
Did he get his daughter back?
Yeah, he did. Wrapped in newspaper. All units in the area were notified immediately that a contact had been made with the suspect, Donald Kiefer. We got in the car and we drove out to Laurel Canyon. The entire area had been blocked off. We found Martin Sullivan standing in the middle of the road at the end of East Winding Way. 500 feet down the hill was a private residence where Sullivan had telephoned us, the only building in the immediate vicinity. A few yards beyond the point where East Winding Way ended, back in a clump of tall grass, we found the body of 22-year-old Judy Sullivan. We notified the crime lab, Chief Thad Brown, and the coroner. Despite the severe emotional shock, Mr. Sullivan told us the story.
He said Judy was all right. I believed him. I wanted her back. Judy. I tricked the officer, the one watching me. Kiefer said to come alone, no police.
Did you see his car, Mr. Sullivan?
I wanted her back. I wanted Judy back. I did as he said. I drove out here at 6 o'clock. I waited. I put the money on the front seat, like he said.
Did he get the money, sir?
And then I got out. I left the parking lights on. I stood up there by the end of the road, and I waited. And then he drove up. He took the money. And then he came up to me. He had a gun. I wanted Judy back. He had a gun.
Did you see his car?
He said she was up there. Beyond the road, she was tied to a tree, he said. I wanted her back.
Well, look, Mr. Sullivan, did you see his car?
I went to look for Judy. He drove away. She wasn't there by the tree. I couldn't find her. On the way back, I saw the money. On the way.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Lord, let me find him. Oh, Lord, let me kill him.
Before he collapsed completely, we showed the dead girl's father a picture of Donald Kiefer, and he identified him definitely. The information was immediately relayed back to Central Division and rebroadcast over our entire radio system. Teletypes were dispatched to sheriff's offices and communications sent to law enforcement agencies throughout the country. 9:52 p.m. The house-to-house search was intensified. The Dragnet operation in which we hoped to trap the killer was drawing slowly inward. A few minutes before midnight, Ben and I drove back downtown to the crime lab to check with Lieutenant Lee Jones.
Hi, fellas. Come on back.
Anything yet, Lee?
Just checking over these towels here. Found them wrapped around the girl's body inside the papers. Funny thing about them.
What's that?
All yesterday's papers. Every story about the girl's disappearance has been clipped out.
How about the towels? Any laundry marks at all, Lee?
Nothing so far, Joe. Every one of them clipped off.
Morgue post the body yet?
They're doing it now.
Nasty one.
Yeah, it sure is. Any footprints or tire marks out where they found the body?
No, lots of them. Got two of the men checking them now. One thing...
What is it, Lee?
I don't know. Under the seam here, this towel. Wait a minute. Give me that pair of snippers, will you, Joe?
Yeah. Here you go.
Thanks. Press back under the seam here. There. That's one tag he missed.
Yeah, can you read the marking?
Greenway Apartments, Los Angeles.
12:34 a.m. We located the Greenway Apartments in the East Wilshire district, and we checked with the manager. He identified Kiefer's mugshot, but he said he hadn't been home to the apartment since the day before. We called the crime lab, and we went up to check the suspect's apartment. One look was enough. Lieutenant Lee Jones found specimens of the Sullivan girl's blood in the wash basin and the bathtub drains. In an adjoining garage, we found the car which Kiefer had used. A blue sedan, Nebraska plates, 6 X-ray 419. A cancellation of the want order for the car was issued and a stakeout placed at the apartment and in the garage in case Kiefer decided to return. All that night and into the next day, the citywide dragnet went on. There was no sign of the killer. At 2 that afternoon, the first piece of ransom money showed up. It was at a used car lot on the corner of Beverly and Naylor Streets. 2 hours later, another piece of the money turned up at a busy downtown department store. In both cases, the man who passed the stolen money was finally identified as Donald Kiefer. Details were strengthened in both areas where the money appeared. The search went on, 6:42 p.m. Ben and I got a call to meet Chief Thad Brown at the Hollywood Division Station. Tommy Bryan from Central Homicide was with him.
This is the way it stacks up now. This pin map over here, this is where we're concentrating the search. This area here.
How about the lead we had on him downtown? Didn't it work out?
No, the last 20 minutes we picked up 3 possible leads on the man out in this neighborhood here. East of Vine, south of Franklin, west of La Brea, north of Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm. More ransom money show up?
You got it there, Brian. Read it off.
Yeah. 5:35, Sunset and Highland. Newsboy thought he saw Kiefer crossing the street. 20 minutes later, a salesgirl in the diamond store up on Hollywood Boulevard thought she saw him. 10 minutes after that, he was reported seen near the intersection of Hollywood Boulevard and Las Palmas.
You figure the reports are reliable?
They were all checked out. Didn't put too much faith in him until a few minutes ago.
How's that? $5 bill was passed at a cigar store, Hollywood Boulevard and Hawthorne, ransom money. We've already doubled the number of men and cars in the area. Men stationed at every intersection to keep an eye on pedestrian traffic. We're covering everything. Streets, stores, covering the whole neighborhood.
I'll get it. Homicide, Brian. Yeah, just a minute. You, Chief.
Oh. That, Brian? Yeah. Where? When was that? No, stay there. We'll be right there. Goodbye. Another piece of ransom money.
Where did it turn up?
A theater on Hollywood Boulevard between Fairview and Hawthorne.
Who passed the money? You think it was Kiefer?
They're positive. They say he's in the theater right now.
The information on Kiefer was phoned into communications immediately, and within a few minutes, men and cars converged on the neighborhood. The 1/2-mile area around the theater was completely blockaded. Every exit and entrance to the theater was covered. 7:23 p.m. Ben and I, along with Chief Thad Brown and Tom Bryan, met in the theater manager's office. Brown outlined our plan of operation. At 7:32 p.m., a detail of 14 men walked down the side aisles on the main floor of the theater and took up their posts on either side of the orchestra pit. The picture was stopped and every light in the theater was turned on. Chief Brown, Bryan, Gomez, Thaxter, Ben, and myself went down the aisle and up onto the stage. Chief Brown made the announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you all be quiet for a minute, please? We're sorry to interrupt the picture, but this is a very important matter. We're police officers. Maybe you've read about it in the paper. A girl by the name of Judy Sullivan was abducted and murdered the day before yesterday. We think we've traced the man who murdered her to this theater. We believe he's in this theater now. We're going to search the theater row by row, and we'd like to ask your cooperation. There's no need to be panicky or afraid. Those who wish to leave now may do so. Leave by the main entrance. Each one of you will be checked as you go out the door. For the benefit of the man we're looking for, don't try to escape. Every exit is covered. The entire area is blockaded. Don't place any more lives in jeopardy. All right, now... Hey! Right there! There it goes! There! Outside exit!
Come on, Ben.
Thanks, Joe. We can make it from there.
All right, come on. Through here. Down here.
Right with you.
In here. Come on, over here.
Air conditioning unit for the theater.
Yeah. I don't see him, do you?
No. You can't get out. There's just 2 exits. We got them both covered.
Look out. There he is. All right, keeper, hold it.
All right, throw your gun over here. Come on, throw it out.
Okay, I got it.
Get out, don't shoot.
All right, let's take him.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, you got my gun. I didn't mean to shoot at you. You forced me to.
Put the cuffs on him, Ben.
Yeah, right. Get your hands off of me, boy.
All right, keeper.
Got the same for you, too.
All right, now hold it. All right, Ben, you all right?
Yeah.
All right, try the cuffs on him now, huh?
Yeah, Got him, huh?
Yeah.
It's a rough one. Hey, it's starting to rain again. It's really pouring out there.
Yeah?
Guess you better get him out the car, huh?
What's the hurry?
How do you mean?
Why spoil a good rain?
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 19th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, this Sunday evening, December 16th, Fatima brings you a television preview of Dragnet on Sound Off Time on NBC. Check your papers for the time. Now, it's an actual case history filmed right on the spot, right at the City Hall, downtown Los Angeles. Starting in January, Dragnet will be seen regularly on television, in addition to Dragnet Radio. Now, remember, Fatima is making all this possible and making it possible for you to give the best this Christmas to everybody who smokes king-size cigarettes. Fatima in the new holiday gift carton. It's the smartest of all Christmas cartons, just as it should be, because Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. Give Fatima.
Donald Alfred Kiefer was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree, and on the recommendation of the jury, he received the death penalty. He was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the State Penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Barton Yarborough as Sergeant Ben Romero. Also heard were Whit Connor and Vic Perrin. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles. Counter Spy fights international intrigue next on NBC.